Because you got powerful legs. How did you get the physique? Was it gym or how did you get the physique?
I've always been.
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 520th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining us on the call, we have Matty DiGialinardo, rapping Rob Kelly, and Andy Patterson, going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everyone listening through the week on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice, whatever you're listening to on us right now, throughout the entire month of April. Nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. Decent weekend of action, actually. We're talking about it off air. Bit of Polish blood and thunder going on there. The Babic, the Savage getting cabbaged over there in Poland, with Joe Cordina as well going to war against Rakimov in Wales. Not much next week, but there's only one place to start. The T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Gervonta Davis with a 7th round body shot finish over King Rye. Absolutely massive super fight. I enjoyed it. It was tense, I suppose, Andy. For the first 1.5 rounds, it was pretty tense. It seemed exciting. I was waiting for someone to land a shot. King Rye, he got a bit overzealous, I thought. Knocked down in the second round. And then Gervonta Davis very quickly took over. We said last week he likes to dictate the tempo. He made Ryan Garcia fairly reluctant to step in again until around the 6th round. And I thought Garcia got a bit of added confidence then. The overhand right was landing. And we saw what happened just one round later. Whenever you get a bit too excited with Tank, the body shot finish pretty much came out the blue, Andy.
Well, I'll get to the French wheel because I kind of take the point. Some people saying he probably quit. But anybody that's ever taken a body shot, regardless what level you've ever boxed at, I mean, it's fucking painful, man. Sometimes it just hits you so good that the reaction is just, it's delayed, and then it can take you a good 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to even get that back. I always kind of like marvel at guys like Gatti taking those left hooks against Ward to the body, the crippling shots. But that aside, I agree with you about the first round. There's pretty much nothing really much happening, and then you say Garcia's got overzealous. He's overcommitted with the left hook. Tank's he's taken away that money shot of his. He's rolled underneath. He's come back with the left hand, dropped him badly. And I think as the fight wore on, actually, when you seen Garcia loading up with the left hook, and when he missed, he was instantly like kind of half turning his back and putting his hands up. Really kind of obviously concerned about what was coming back at him. I just think that Garcia just uses his speed, probably his size, and that as well. And his power, I suppose, to overwhelm opponents, but. A guy like Davis who just wasn't flustered. They seem to be content to move on the back foot, counter off the back foot as well. He just knew at some point. Maybe I seen Alex Arthur mention the rehydration clause and that as well. Maybe that had an effect on his ability to take the body shots. I don't know. But as we do know, if you get hit in the body in the right place. And it comes down to the fight at the end of the day as to how much he's willing to take. You can say he quit. Seen Bellew saying he swallowed it as well.
He would know.
I know. Well,
Daniel.
I seen who was it? Terry Dooley pick him up on the 175 comments maybe about Adonis Stevenson about that fight. But really, for me, I just think Garcia ran out of ideas. Once the left hook wasn't landing or wasn't causing any problem. If you look at Davis, early half of that fight, maybe about the third, watch his jab. He's not really kind of popping out there. He's just kind of keeping it, caressing it off Garcia's left jab, because what he's doing is he's really just kind of waiting to see if he's going to flick that left hook. He knows it's coming. So if he's actually kind of blocking off the path for the left hook, all really Garcia can throw at that point is a jab. And then once he just slips off, he's got nothing else really kind of follow up with. I don't think he really kind of flustered Tank as such. Maybe he'll clear a couple of shots here and there, but other than that, it was I thought it was pretty much plain sailing for Davis. And I says once Garcia ran out of ideas, it was that was it. That was just basically it. He obsessed with his favourite punch, I think, Garcia, and he just couldn't land it. As I say, Tank took it away from him after the second round, because obviously he knocked him down after he kind of slipped or rolled underneath the left, took him with the left hand. And that was it. That was a game changing moment for me. I just at that point it was just a matter of when, no if.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought Garcia looked stylistically, he kind of showed all the bad sides of himself, really. The chin was really exaggerating, coming up in the air. He was trying too hard, as Andy says there. Danny Young threw in a question for the pod. He said, is Goosen a celebrity trainer now? We asked it last night, and I think it's a good question to ask after the fight. Danny, of course, was hosting the Nutters Corner last night. Goosen, he's a bit of a celebrity, isn't he, in the old denim. Des as well says, last night showed us that Garcia was more suited to a Rolly fight than Tank Loma Heaney. Maybe that's Nathan Heaney or Shakira. There was a level between them. Only joking, Des. To be fair, I think Davis has the Durans about him, top draw. Rob, you were unmuting, unsheathing yourself there. Tell me about the stoppage, actually, because I was a little bit undecided. And you know what? I don't think the visuals of the ending look too great for Garcia, to be honest. Just from a casual's perspective, you're watching him there. I think he would have been better getting his head knocked off his shoulders. For say you got a casuals watching the fight there, you got one guy, especially with Garcia's profile, taking a random knee. A shot hasn't really been landed from what people can see initially before the replays are playing. You've got this pretty boy image that Garcia carries around with him. He's more social media than boxer. I think he would have been better off getting absolutely sparkoed last night than the kind of getting up, shrugging his shoulders. I'm not saying the body shot didn't hurt. That's not what I'm saying. But the visuals of the ending, I don't think it did his, too much of a warrior perception any favours.
Well, I think two things can be true at one time, right? So I said last week that I thought Garcia was supremely confident in beating Tank in the second round. I think it was like Ryan Deal or someone picked me up in the comments and they were like, maybe no Goosen and all have seen enough with Tago to know that it's time to cash him out, that they see something. So, and the optics on it, like I've never really been clipped like too hard to body, but I remember a shot skimming off my elbow and hit me on the short rib just as the fucking bell went in a spar one time, and I was thinking to myself, Tank, fuck, because I just took the fucking life out of me. So it can happen, but what I'd say about that is I'm a big fan of both of them, and I didn't really care who won, like, but I love the fight, I love the spectacle. But he got up and he walked as soon as the 10 count happened. He wasn't still on the canvas rolling around there, and he got up and walked back to the corner pretty easily. If you're watching it now, I'm not saying he fucking maybe he just jacked it under pressure. Tank was shouting, and Tank knew he got him with the body shot. You could see he landed it and he was about to follow him up, so he would have been fodder, and maybe he just didn't fancy it, you know what I mean? Maybe he just thought him in over my head. I thought, like, in terms of game plan for him, like, you hear this fucking analogy about lions all the time in boxing, like, but I thought Davis was like a lion last night, and fucking Ryan Garcia was just like a big stupid gazelle. Like, he doesn't listen to Goosen. You can talk to answer Danny's point there. Like, Goosen was giving him good instructions. He was telling him keep him on the jab, throw the fucking straight right hand. He was trying to set up a fucking check hook that fucking Davis could see coming from space, and Davis just nullified it. Like, he just kept his right arm extended to stop him setting up the check hook, and then he had nothing after that. I watched the after Danny Young's Ryan Deal said that, I went back and watched the Tago fight Friday night there, like, because I normally do that in a week of big fights. Like, I watched each guy's last fight, just did a run up, like, and he didn't try and cut the ring against Tago at all, like, for the first 6 rounds, and he just was following fucking Davis around last night. Davis was just setting him up, and just like a lion, just waiting on his prey. He's ice cold, like. got his moment in the second round. I think if he'd have caught him on the chin, he caught him more on the nose in the second round. I think if he'd have caught him on the chin, it would have been lights out. And Garcia offered really nothing. He didn't make the adjustment until round 6 to start pushing his jab down on top of Davis's lead arm, like, and try to start landing something. But like you said, he got excited, and then the finish came, the opening came, and people kind of have this perception of Davis that he's this slugger or he's this, he's just an absolute monster, which he is. But he fucking set shots up. Like, he's got a good boxing IQ. You see, it was the same shot. The footage is doing the rounds today on Twitter. Some boxer size Bens on Twitter are putting up the Barrios
elusive
comparison. Yeah, putting up the Barrios comparison, but it's almost the same shot. He waits for him to throw, counters under the hits him right on the short rib and the power he has, he just folding that. So brilliant for the sport, ice cold killer. And I knew Garcia was in trouble when Tank was walking out with Chief Keef to Love Sosa. That's music to make you want to kill someone. So I knew it wasn't going to be good then. Like, but it was like Dave Lee said in the chat, when you watch, I got up to watch it, like, and it was good. I wasn't like live tweeting or texting or nothing, because I kind of couldn't. I was like, what the fuck is going to happen here? Like, how is this going to play out? And I was like seeing in Garcia kind of feeling himself into a fight, like, and I was. But then he offered very little offensively to trouble Tank, and you've seen him probably more troubled by Isak, Cruz, and Raleigh even. But I'd say this about the two of them: they've done some job of selling a fight that's two fellas that are not the best guys in the division. It's like fucking as good as Davis is, we have to see him be the top guy now. Like in his, Garcia, we say, all right, that's a top guy. Whatever about the rehydration, but the difference in levels was obvious when they were in there. I want to see him in against somebody now who's going to give him a real fight, like, and he's the man now. Like, he's gonna be, the A side in any negotiation. So maybe those fights are going to be tough to make. So I genuinely don't know what's next for him. I'd say knowing Ellerby and the boys, he's probably going to get a gimme again, like, be active. But yeah, entertaining and delivered in terms of a good stoppage. But I don't know, like you said, when I got up and I saw guys, I don't want to call any fighters quitters. Like, it's not, I don't like that really. Like, but when the count, if you look back on the replay, as soon as the 10 count is announced, he gets up and walks around, like, and he walked back to the corner and that. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, he needs to up his amateur dramatics game. I remember they made the point about Oscar being dropped with a body shot by Bernard Hopkins. Oscar at least had the decency to punch the canvas numerous times and make a grimacing face. So he's going to have to up his amateur dramatics. One thing, Matty, that Rob mentioned there was the setups from Tank. And Tank showed last night, I think, a combination of the reasons why I rate him so highly. He's patient. He's able to slow the pace down. He hits very, very hard. He's fast. He's accurate. But I think he's a smart thinking fighter as well. And that was exemplified last night. He sets traps and he has excellent boxing instincts. The amount of times Garcia threw a shot and Tank was ready to block or move because he saw it coming. He knew exactly what Ryan Garcia was going to do, which made the fight quite one-sided, I thought, from a point. That fight rhythm, that natural instinct, it's an invaluable asset to have.
He's, I think the easiest way to explain Tank is he's a counter puncher with, absolute missiles in both hands. It's just and the opportunities he finds and the holes that he finds are the way that he goes about it. It's kind of uncanny. Funny enough, and I know we'll get into this fight, the ability to find those holes and have basically every shot in the book. That you also see that with David Morrell, Steve. So, but we'll get to that. I think we're in a really weird place in the 135-pound division. And I found myself sitting there watching this fight, and I knew how the fight was going to end, Steve, and I talked myself out of it 100%. Just trying to go the underdog role, that's I always love the underdogs. But I was watching back the Luke Campbell fight, and I wish I had done this, and looked at it harder before the last podcast. And there was this specific straight left hand that Luke Campbell kept landing to the body of Garcia. He wasn't hooking it. He wasn't uppercutting it. It wasn't like a traditional straight. He was basically stuffing a straight punch palm up into the body of Garcia. And he just repeatedly just sticking that punch into him. And lo and behold, it's a very similar shot there from Tank, except he turns this shit over that finished it. I was looking at, like, when Garcia went down, I had to rewind it multiple times. I'm like, what in God's name hit him? It was nothing that seemed to make any sense. And then, like, oh crap, just a delayed reaction from that body shot. I think he might have pissed himself, honestly. I think that's why he didn't say he wanted to say what happened exactly. But that's just a hunch.
I was wondering the same. I thought,
Thank
I
you.
was like, did he shit himself there or something? Like, because he fucking, the way he looked, like he was rough and tough running there.
Thank you. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. And I remember Jack Lowe talking about Pavlik hitting people so hard that they pissed themselves. So, I mean, wouldn't dismiss it. I mean, that's, the dirtier side of sport. But, I mean, what Davis did in there was incredible. And Rob was right. Garcia just kept going into that left hand. And then the 6th round, I thought he got it kind of straightened out a little bit, and he could have been, it'd been 4 rounds to 2, 3 rounds down, definitely not out of the fight, but he started finding that right hand. And it wasn't necessarily just the idea that he was landing that right hand. It was the idea that if he kept finding spots for it, that eventually Davis was going to have to adjust the right hand, and then he would find the opening for the hook. But you have to fight Tank so patiently. And here we are, Steve, and trying to think of a reason that Davis would win. Wrong again. And you got, a lot of people got in that sense with Mayweather. I was that way probably, I don't know, through 2009-ish. But the thing about it is, what do you do when you have 3 guys in the division, Stevenson, Haney, and Davis, that are on that kind of level where you're trying to find something, anything, why they might lose? It's honestly, to have these 3 fighters in the same division at the same time is incredible, especially if they end up fighting each other. If they don't, you talk about boxing pissing away something amazing. What a waste. But here we are with these incredible fighters, and I don't even want to take a hunch at who would beat who in a round robin between them, because I don't have a clue. They are all such tremendous fighters. They're so good at setting traps and creating the conditions that they can take advantage of their opponent's mistakes. So please make these fights, because I'm just wondering, how in the hell am I existing at the same time with 3 fighters of this quality in the same division simultaneously? It's tremendous.
Steve, where do you sorry, Matty. Steve, where do you think that both go now? Because Garcia, to me, showing signs that, Reynoso and all ditched him, Canelo ditched him. There's something, he was off the rails there for a year and a half with the mental health thing, or whatever. He showed last night maybe that he jacked it. Maybe that I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe so say he didn't. But if he doesn't listen, he looks so green. If he's going up to 140, whatever killers are at 135, there's just nearly just as much at 140. And then as far as Tank, is it going to be boxing disappoints again? Because I fucking dying to see him versus Shakur Stevenson. Now that is the fight to make it in boxing. Fucking Spence Crawford, make this one but I don't think we're going to see it
See for Davis, really. I mean, I was having a look at the rankings here when Matty was talking. You think with Davis, the position that he's in, at some point he's going. If he keeps going as he's going, right, he's going to be possibly become the face of the sport at some point. You need him in a fight that's going to move the needle a little bit. I mean, fighting the likes of, I'm just throwing names out there, like a Kambosos or a Barinchek, for example. That's only going to move.
Barinchek?
No, is there like a Barinchek?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Aye. That's only going to move it so far, like a Maxi Hughes.
They'll never. No, he's past that now. Sorry.
You're looking at Haney, you're looking at Lomachenko, you're looking at Stevenson. These are the fights you're obviously begging for, but then you've just got the political aspect in that. Is there a will on one side to do the business? I don't know, mate. But yeah, we'll go to have these fights, and it's going to be hard to match Davis next in terms of a named opponent. You can get a rematch with Romero. Possibly.
No, I know the fight next will be. They'll have a rematch with Isaac Cruz next. I bet you. That's what I think they'll do next, because it was close enough to justify it. The hand injury, blah blah blah. Cruz's stock has risen since with 2 knockout wins against Gamboa and Eduardo Ramirez.
Good call. And that's a fair interim fight. That's a fair interim fight. No qualm.
What about? I take it 130 is completely out the question these days in terms of time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
If there's a bit of footage on the go in the build up to it where Davis is being interviewed about potential future opponents, and you can tell he has a bit of spite towards Shakur, he wouldn't say his name or nothing, and he was kind of grinning to himself, when he does that kind of menacing thing where he's grinning to himself.
He was doing it last night during the fight.
So I think he wants that fight. Like, so fuck me, man. That be such a mouth-watering fight. Like for the hard.
Yeah. All roads have to lead to Shakur for me. I think he'd knock Haney into the middle of next week. I don't think Haney's a bad fighter. Oh, Rob's had enough. He's been iced. I don't think Haney's a bad fighter, but I think he'd knock him into the middle of next week. One fighter who might come out of left field in a couple of fights to keep things in-house is maybe Frank Martin. I think that Martin would give him trouble. He's not a household name by any stretch of the imagination, but he's quite defensively minded. He's quite fast as well. He could match him for speed, obviously not for power, but he's quite defensively responsible.
High IQ fighter, high IQ.
High IQ. I think he actually, funnily enough, I think he might actually give Davis trouble. He'll not beat him, but he'll be a lot closer. He's one of those styles, I think. He won't walk onto anything unnecessarily, and he'll be very cagey. He might not win many rounds, but I think he'll give Davis trouble and frustrate him, and that's something they might make.
Southpaw, I think he had like loads of amateur tournament experience, like Golden Gloves and that as well.
Fighter.
So he'll be well grounded.
135 is a truly stunning division right now. I mean, Frank Martin as a dark horse in there is an absolutely incredible shout. This weekend we're going to see William Zepeda in action again, and I think he might be a good comeback opponent for Garcia should he decide to stick at 135, which I'm not too sure of. But we could obviously go through the list of who's ranked and things right now, but I think that you're really pushing an agenda that you have if you can't say openly that 135 is the best division in boxing, hands down. I mean, the second tier of 135 is probably as good as fucking half the divisions in boxing.
I think Garcia will move up, Matty, and it'll be like a nice little political move. Oh, the weight was killing me, the rehydration clause, etc. Then body shots, blah blah blah, and it'll just be a nice move for him. I think for the optics again to move up to 140. On my Martin point as well, they were talking about Michel Rivera at one point as a possible future Tank opponent. So the fact they put him and Martin together and the winner came out, they're always thinking a couple of moves ahead. So I think they'll go for Cruz next and then look at maybe not Martin after that, but maybe the fight after that again. But they're not looking for people like these, like Baranchik and Kambosos. Well, maybe, I don't even think Kambosos, to be honest. They're looking for money fights and names. That's why Rolly got his chance. I mean, ideally, he shouldn't have been anywhere near a big fight, really, on pay-per-view. But he got that opportunity for a reason because he moved the needle. Just a quick one for you.
Liam Perro is kind of sitting in the background as an available fighter for DAZN at 140, and he's either
for Garcia, right?
Yeah, he either has the title or he's one of the guys that is in sweepstakes, whatever.
There's an element of last night about Garcia just cashing out in that. Like, to be fair, I mean, there's a clip. I forget the Twitter account that tweeted it, but there's a clip going about on Twitter today about Oscar getting randomly questioned at some show about the potential of Tank fighting Garcia, and Oscar goes, "No, fight's not happening." And he goes, like, "How's that?" He says, "Because Tank's a beast." Right? I don't know how long ago this was. It was maybe a year or two ago. It might even been the result. Remember when Garcia started crying about what some of the comments that Oscar had made or whatever it was. I just think maybe there's a bit of an element of both. Oscar knew what his ceiling is or knows what his ceiling is, and decides to kind of go with the fight. Allowed the rehydration clause to go ahead in that as well. Because, you know what I'm saying?
Where was Oscar last night? I didn't see him.
He was ringside. He was definitely there.
Because Showtime showed everybody but him, unless I just missed
I managed to get a screenshot of him because what we're saying, where was he during the fight? He was definitely there.
Him and B-Hop didn't show up at the press conference. They left Garcia on his own. Everyone was noticing that, like, they were there for the promotion, and then when he got beat, there was no sign of him.
Yeah,
I seen him in round 5. He's see with if anybody's got the fight on just now, just look at the ring. You'll see it's got the blue corner basically. Oscar is literally like first row behind the black barrier, so he's not exactly like inner ringside, but he's just front row of outer ringside, if you know what I mean.
Michael Thompson says we can all respect Gervonta finally when he does some adversity. I think there's a bit of bitterness in Michael Thompson's comment there. I get what he's saying, but last night was supposed to be adversity. And is it because they're not matching him correctly? That could well be the case against he's fighting shit people. But it could also be the fact that he's just making it look so easy. He's had times of adversity.
Yeah, but see what's going to happen here now, mate, is what's going to happen. They're going to end up like using like the rehydration clause, right? As you mentioned, people are already using it as an excuse in that as well. And I take the point, but at the same time, what does the A side do? The A side always kind of like he tries to negotiate something to his advantage at all times. Canelo, Floyd, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, they have Mike Tyson, they've all fucking done it. Until you get yourself over as the A side, quit crying about it.
Andy, Ryan Garcia took a gamble last night. I think we can all respect him for that, but that stays outside of the ring. I don't bring that into the ring with like, oh, he took a gamble, give him respect. What happens in the ring and happens outside are two different things. So fair enough, we give him a pat on the back. Even in defeat, did that gamble pay off? Do you think his profile will be higher? Do you think he'll be a better fighter for that?
Aye, because he was on Mike Tyson's podcast. He's calling out Tank Davis. I think Mike Tyson engaged Davis on the FaceTime. They're negotiating the fight there and then. It did millions of views. And look, he done his bit. He carried the promotion. He called for the fight. You know, it's all saying, be careful what you wish for. He might just get it, and that's what happened. He got it. But at the end of the day, he called for the fight. And that's what you want at the end of the day. Close to the physical primes, that's all you can ask for. Yeah. He can come again. Not so sure myself, to be fair, but that will be a question for another day.
He gave a good account of himself. I mean, I think what you have to...
He had no idea after that knockdown.
Well, hold on. The 6th round, he got it together. He had a good round. But this is what I admire. You're looking at him at his age and the adversity that he went through. Gets dropped in that 2nd round. He gets right back up, and what does he do? He gets right in Tank's face. He didn't shirk. He kept going for it. There were moments where he was definitely catching Tank with some good shots and making Tank uncomfortable at times. Obviously, not as often as Tank was doing to him.
He's very aggressive in the clinches, wasn't he, Matty? I thought he was really rough and tough.
There's a lot of good to take from what Ryan Garcia did last night. And that last, the way it ended might leave a bad taste in people's mouths. But I think the kid does have a future. It all kind of depends on if he can get in the right place of confidence again after that. So we'll see.
If we're praising him for getting up after getting knocked down and then trying to press the fight, if we're going to take that away as a positive, and I'm not so sure that's a great positive to be looking at the end of the day. Because he's just basically walking in the firing range. He's lobbing the left hook in there, and then he's getting picked off as a direct result of it. And then when he's no landing the left hook or can't land it, he's getting picked off and he's hiding for the shot, turning away, hiding his back. He knew the writing was on the wall. I don't think there was anything positive that Garcia could take away for that fight there last night. I just think it was delaying the inevitable. After that 2nd round knockdown and that, I thought there was a total change in the fight. You can say game, gutty, he's pressing the fight, but that only gets you so far, mate. It only gets you so far. It's the skills pay the bills, and that's what Tank was doing. He just picked them apart.
Well, and I think you have to consider. You got to look at.
You have to look at. You've got to learn for that.
Well, you have to look at levels, though. I mean, considering everything, it's and what I really have to think that Tank, you got to kind of compare him to Crawford in a sense, because he might not be fighting all the people that you want him to, at least not of yet, especially in Davis's case, he's young, but the people he is fighting, he's beating the shit out of them and stopping them. It's who beats the shit out of and stops Jose Pedraza? Tank Davis. It's not just who you're fighting, it's how you're beating them. And that tells a lot about the level of Davis. And that's why all these fights at 135 are so intriguing. I just hope they make them happen.
That's what I was kind of also thinking as well, what Michael Thompson saying in the chat. That must be hard when you're a 23-year-old multi-millionaire and having to try to get up off the deck and carry on facing an absolute animal. You want it that bad. Again, that's what it is. But you need to remember, Davis is all about that life. You know what I'm saying? The hard, gritty upbringing, having to fight for everything that he's had to get. Just to get to this point in his career where Garcia's had I'm just going to say he's had it totally easy through his life. I don't know much about his upbringing, but it looks like he's had a solid bringing up. Like he's got the brother, he's got the mum and dad, that type of thing.
Victorville, California is a fucking shithole, dude. It really is.
Well, I don't know, but it seems he's been pretty much managed up to a certain point in that as well. I don't think he's totally about that life and that as well. I think it's all about the money, all about the fame. For him in that as well, and all about the pretty boy looks. Although that's not a major issue as such, but see,
not just the dog.
Gets brought in.
Not just the dog though, Andy. I just don't think he had a clue technically and stylistically, really.
Aye.
Like
that's what I say. He's running ideas, mate. Once that left hook isn't landing, mate. He's got no answer. Absolutely no answer. Just take it away from him, and then as I says, he's trying to rough it up on the inside that, but he wasn't really landing much. If he was, it was just cuffing shots.
To be fair, though, he has shown he can learn from the past. Remember when he knocked down Campbell with that sweet body shot and Campbell didn't get up again? He took that a few fights later and implemented it into his own game. Took a body shot and didn't get back up again. For fuck's sake. Sorry, Ryan.
Jesus Christ. Rob's killing me here, Steve. He's killing me.
Here, Matt Butters mentioned something there. He said Tom Taylor was warning Tank for holding at one point. That's one thing I want to see cut out, Matty, that business when Tank just leaps in. He is really good at resetting people, I think, at times. Whenever people get the momentum, he's able to shift the momentum. He starts complaining to the referee. Very Floyd-like in his mannerisms. He dives forward at times and really bear hugs people. Refs are going to have to get on top of that, Matty. That's something that I'm not too fussed on, but I mean, it is a bit of a criticism of him.
You know, Steve, it's one of when I look at boxing and the things that could improve it, I think there needs to be, and it's kind of hard. I mean, it's situational, obviously, but they need to start coming up with standards for what is excessive holding, and referees need to be held to that account, and they need to hold fighters to that account. The problem is so many of these rules in boxing that they're just like so vague and ambiguous. It just they get enforced lackadaisically, and I think that's why some of us feel like it's so corrupt at times, because we're like, we just saw you last week let so and so get away with this, and now have taken 2 points away from Joe. And that doesn't make any sense. So boxing needs to kind of do some self-regulating and get some better standards going with some of these rules, I think.
There's holding and there's holding. Everyone grapples and knows the dark arts, but he was literally diving forward and grabbing on him, like bear hugging him and all that. So that's going to have to... He is a bit of a complainer. We've seen him complaining to the ref in the past and trying to micromanage the fight. But I'll mention his trainer shortly as well, Calvin Ford. Actually, I've got a few words for him. What about this, Matty? Andy. Patrick threw this in for Bellew of the Week, but I think it's only right to throw it in there now. Dave Moretti scored the middle round, the second round, 10-10. I mean, is he assuming that Garcia was doing well and the knockdown was negated by his good work? Is it a typo? Has he written something in wrong? Has the commissioner written it in wrong? There doesn't seem any precedent for this. It's a bit of an odd decision, isn't it?
Well, the other two judges only gave it 10-9 as well.
10-9, so it must be the former rather than the latter then. I just don't get it.
I know. I didn't get it. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to remember what happened. I think Garcia started the round pretty quick. Is that not when he started to kind of grapple with Tank?
Yeah, he started it well, but I don't think he started it well enough that he was absolutely bossing Tank and battering him around and then got caught. I thought it was, he was winning the round, but he wasn't winning it that much that usually a 10-8 is a 10-8 unless obviously he was beating him.
They don't even know how to cheat right anymore.
Well, that's what I was saying to you, Matt. When he was grappling him, Garcia, and that there was look at some of those punches. Not a great deal of them were landing, and if there were nothing really significant in them. I thought Tank was moving, and he was trying to kind of keep the lead on the outside, as I mentioned, Garcia's jab, because he was just trying to kind of offset that left hook. And then when he was getting off, and Garcia would try and throw that lead, he obviously tried to step in through the left hook, and then he got countered, as we mentioned, and he gets dropped. I don't think it was a round that Garcia was winning anyway. I just thought it was one of those. Just one of those rounds. It was just a wee bit like the opener. There wasn't really kind of like much happening, and then obviously you get the knockdown. I think that punctuates the round. It was a 10-8.
Those cards are really strange. Honestly, guys, I think that was about as straightforward a 58-55 fight as you could find through 6 rounds. I thought Garcia was active and won the first round. Then Tank took the next 4, and Garcia obviously won the 6 before getting knocked out. 58-55. Farhood had it that way. Pretty much think everybody in the group had it that way. And yet not one of these judges had 58-55. What the fuck?
Well, Tim Cheatham trying to cheat him there, Matty. But I think the fact of the matter is, you can see from the other two, Cheatham's got it 19-19. So he's think that Ryan's bossing the round, but the knockdown has kind of swayed it the other way. Weisfeld thinks the same. And Moretti clearly thinks the same as well, but he doesn't know how to score, even though that's his job. I do blame him because it is his job. I get confused over the scoring sometimes, 10-point must system and all this nonsense. And is it a 9-9? Is it a 9-8? So-and-so's at a point. It can get confusing, but at the end of the day, it's his job between him and the commission. I think he's fucked up. I think he thinks the same as the other two, but instead of making it 10-9, Matty, I think he just put 10-10 because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, or they just don't care anymore. They're just following a script. They don't care anymore.
Yeah, a bit like us, don't care anymore, just following a script. Rob, I want to have a quick word on Tank's trainer, Calvin Ford. Not really familiar with his work too much before getting involved in Tank. I know he'd done about 10 years for coke importation or something. Kevin Cunningham was around the scene early on in the day. Not much tactical advice early on from him. He's more of a, this is your show, baby. This is your time. But that seems to just work. Clearly, all the pre-work has been done in the gym with these guys. Tank's a little robot. He just needs refining, keeping on track, keeping motivated, keeping focused. I think Calvin Ford is there to just do those little tweaks in between rounds, little observations and words of advice. That's all that's needed. I think their dynamic works really well together.
Yeah, I think it's more based on the relationship, isn't it, with them two? Like, you can see Davis has been said before, like he's like a father figure to him or whatever.
It's like Ward and Hunter, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like he steered him out of trouble and that, like, and kept him on the right path. And a lot of the fellas that kind of went to the gym with him ended up dead, like, because they would listen to Coach Ford or whatever. So he's got like seems like a special bond with him. But yeah, I used to think he was just a hype man as well. But I don't know if it's Tank's natural ability or whatever. But tactically, they seem spot on in every fight that they're in. Like, and Tank seems to show more and more the more he goes on in his career. Like, he showed his boxing last night, circling the outside, just wanting to walk Garcia onto one, like, played it perfectly. So I don't know. He's obviously doing something right, like, because Tank looks better each time out. Like,
yeah, Rob, I kind of look back at like Mayweather and like wonder, was Uncle Roger a good trainer at all? You kind of almost wonder if it's like a thing like, you know, birds fly, fish swim, Tank fights, Floyd boxes. It's just so ingrained in them that basically doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of that with the Furies and that as well, isn't there? Like, it's kind of doesn't matter who's Fury's coach. Like, he's going to do what he does. Some guys are great at adjusting on the fly, but I don't know. I think it does Ford a little bit of disservice because you could see Tank making improvements each time out, as far as I can see, anyway.
I still think the best boxing is really it's like jazz. It's you can't go in there with a set game plan. You have to go with the flow of it. You have to feel the motions and not try to fight the tide. You go with it, and it's just and so it just everything kind of moves along. It's when you try to force things to a script. That's not always the way it's going to go. The other person doesn't know the script. So, and guys like Floyd and Tank and Shakur, you know, I'm not sure about Haney yet, but those three, like they really seem like they just know how to move the flow of the fight, and it, no matter what the style is or what's going on, they're going to find a way to turn it in their favor, and it's a goddamn incredible talent.
Hence my comment before, Matty, about the natural instinct and the rhythm. I think it's beautiful watching those kind of fighters. You know, like it's like a Roy Jones. I remember seeing Joanne Guzman reminding me of that too. Obviously, he had a lot of problems as well, but they're just naturals on the pads in the ring, the way they move their head. It's in motor memory, muscle memory. They've been doing it for so many years. It's just the moves are natural to them now.
Yeah, and you know, I think Guzman, it's interesting you bring that up because it's such an incredibly talented fighter, you know, like Tank. But you look at like the things that Tank does outside the ring, you know, just even his diet, you know, just eating a shit ton of candy and shit dumb stuff. And yeah, there's just little things about him that I feel that he's going to be incredible until his peak. But when he falls off of it, it's going to be a sharp decline. And that's, you know, he's obviously not there yet. That's years ahead. But I think if there's one thing that's really going to define the differences between some of these fighters, I think it's going to be that. I think the decline of Tank Davis in, you know, years to come, it's going to be just a crash and fucking burn.
Yeah, Matty's absolutely right. Final couple of points before we move on to the Undercard. I've enjoyed this chat. It's been a good one so far. Andy, as Matty said there, everything seems to just come together for Davis at this moment. I think we're watching a very special talent. I've thought that for a while. He's competing at his prime right now. So I think we maybe just have to enjoy it, really, because he's going to go off the rails at some point. Let's just get those big fights made right now so we can just find out who the best is. Imagine how big a fight would be, as Rob mentioned earlier, Andy, between Davis and Shakur Stevenson. Come on, man. Come on, boxing gods. Let's have it.
I know. It'd be amazing if it would happen, mate. It would be great, but just got to hope it happens. You know, there's... It does feel like he's a generational talent. It does feel like he could be the face of boxing and that as well. Hopefully, he's just with him getting older, he's getting more mature, but you just don't know with the shit sometimes he kind of like can carry on, I suppose. Maybe a kind of thing to say. Hopefully, it's he holds it together at least, and he can maximise his career, achieve great things, because there's nothing worse than wasted talent. And I mean, you've got a legit puncher on that as well, who could just take either just wipe you out or just make you quit. It'd be devastating to see, like say, Lomachenko, Haney, and Stevenson ultimately end of the day. But as I say, it's just hopefully we can get the boxing gods together, get the business done properly, check the egos at the door, and remember it's about the fighters, not about the promoters or fucking managers. That type of stuff. Nonsense. I mean, look at Ellaby leaving Oscar without a name there on Friday, by the way. Jesus Christ. But yeah, leave all that shit out here. Get the guys in the ring and let's see the fights. Hopefully, mate. I'm hopeful. I mean, Stevenson's obviously going to fight Lomachenko, Haney winner, aren't they? So that would give us to maybe December, hopefully.
And that's a great fight. That's a really great fight.
It's a nice fight as well, politically, because they can both make the fight. If Haney beats Lomachenko or whichever one wins, they're going to fight Stevenson. I think Haney will beat Lomachenko. Then he goes on to fight Stevenson. Stevenson comprehensively beats him, might even be over a rematch, and gets him out the way. It's like everyone's been kind of dealt with at that point, isn't it? And then there's nothing there's plenty standing in the way, but there should be theoretically nothing standing in the way of Stevenson then fighting Tank, if Tank can be impressive.
Well, and I'll tell you what, this fight, Davis versus Garcia, I'm optimistic is the beginning of a sea change in boxing because of the economics of it. It's tougher to make a buck these days, with the purses and such. I think that this could have been the first of many fights of them working across the aisle, knowing that their livelihoods basically depend on it at this point in time, and they can't keep their fighters so compartmentalized.
Mm-hmm. They can do it when it suits them. Talking of finances, just final one, Matty, before we go on to the undercard. What are we looking for pay-per-view buys? I was thinking maybe 750,000, 800,000. Apparently, DAZN had some kind of mishap, fuck up last night. Their sales weren't going through. Then people were reordering. They were getting charged 2 or 3 times.
Oh my God.
Apparently so. And people were tweeting. I think Victor Ortiz was tweeting about it. A few of the people saying they couldn't get the fight. They had to go over and do it on Showtime. DAZN, man, they wanted to be involved at all costs. They had one job, and it sounds like they couldn't fulfill it, unfortunately.
Well, good thing that I just bought it from regular cable, so that would have been the Showtime telecast.
Game changed. Holy shit! I'm going to check.
Channel changed.
Channel changed.
Game changed. Gamekeeper. Game over.
Yeah, I'd say maybe 800,000 buys, something like that, Matty. If they touched 1 million, it'd be remarkable. Some people are saying that. I think that's maybe a bit too high for me, but it's getting up into those regions now. Tank, Andy mentioned earlier as well about Tank becoming one of the faces of boxing. I think between him and Canelo at the moment for selling pay-per-views, depending on the right dance partner.
I always thought that 1 million was basically the baseline, give or take. So I'm not shocked. This is kind of right in where I saw it. And we were talking about this on the call-in, and it was an $85 pay-per-view over here. It's really expensive. But you also have to consider this. I'm trying to think who might have said it. I think it might have been our buddy Zekonomics. To him, this was the biggest fight in boxing since Mayweather-Pacquiao. Well, that was like 8 years ago now, something like that. That was $100, so it was more expensive prior inflation. So, I mean, if you think about it under those terms, if this was really the biggest fight since Mayweather versus Pacquiao, based on inflation, pay-per-view prices have gone down a bit.
Mm-hmm. They are. See, that wasn't me being a hater.
No, I fully believed you. I have had more problems with these apps and different things like that. Like I thought Fight TV was a good little purchase, for a few bucks a month. They have some decent cards on there. And then I'm like, one night I decided, I'm like, there's nothing going on. I'll watch that Tervel Pulev fight.
They showed it, you know?
Guess what they wanted an extra $15 for? I'm like, I ain't paying $15 to watch Tervel Pulev. I already give you guys $7. Is all I get bare knuckle fights?
You're not very supportive of the sport then, Matty, really. You should have paid that if you were a proper boxing fan.
How much did you pay for the fight, Steve?
That's neither here nor there. Let's move on. I was
going to mind his own fucking business, Steve. Your financial security is your financial security, mate. You don't have your own fucking business.
Go on, Matt.
It was an expensive day yesterday for me, Steve. It was
sure
very
it was.
expensive. Missed a few bets too. But the best investment of my day, I think, Steve, is I made a rum punch, and I freshly juiced a pineapple, 3 blood oranges, half of a lime, a little bit of grenadine, then 3 parts dark rum, 1 part light rum. And Steve, it was magnificent. The highlight of my evening was my rum punch. And I hope everybody who appreciates good rum drinks will take that recipe and utilize it themselves. A truly fantastic way to spend the evening. Fucked up
If
on
Ryan
rum.
Garcia was a drink, Matty, that's what he would be. What you just described.
He is a member of the Fantastic Hair Club, and I think that drink should be reserved for such. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, I was going to go on to the undercard, but you've reminded me of a question, actually. I think it was Matthew Kemp threw it in, so you might as well throw it in there now and just keep going while we're ahead. He said, is Garcia versus Tank the biggest, most significant fight in America since Mayweather versus Pacquiao? Only fight that comes close off the top of my head is Canelo versus Golovkin. The boys were throwing the questions around possibilities there in the chat, as you know, Matty, Kovalev, Ward, etc., etc. But I mean, it's hard to think of one that would maybe top it, really. What are you saying?
I would really have to rack my brain, and we might be able to come up with something. I think maybe the Wilder versus Fury, one of those fights.
I think. After the first one, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, the way the first one ended, obviously, draw, Fury rising from the dead, hell of a script, right? So that, and maybe Canelo versus Golovkin. But I think you're talking this is top 3, top 5, which still makes it, an exceptional fight to have been made in the last handful of years.
I think because he says most significant fight in America will feature an American. I think Wilder Fury was massive because the whole heavyweight division, the premier division, sitting on the shoulders of an American. You had that whole nationalistic aspect as well. The first fight, as Matty mentioned, would Wilder just get rid of him in the second fight, and then all the controversy after it as well? I think Wilder Fury 2 for me.
I was going to say that as well, mate, because it broke all records as well for a heavyweight fight, I'm sure. Gate money and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I would probably say Fury and Wilder second and third fights. What
are you thinking, Roberto? Going along the same lines as us there?
I'm outside the chipper here. I'll let you know in a minute.
This is the most significant order since Jordan Fisher come off. What is it?
There's a bit of a boss. Picking up the missus from after I've been up in Dublin. I got in for chips and a few battered sausages here. It's Shanky's of Ferndale. Highly recommended.
There you go. Most significant order on a Sunday evening since John Fisher came off the Chinese scene. That's the question.
God, our shows are weird, Steve. They're so fucking weird.
Mine was the fucking €10 order, by the way, not a fucking £85 fucking. You know what I mean?
It's because you didn't get any prawns.
Yeah.
Talking of weird shows, Matty, I freaking forgot to cut it, didn't I? But I was listening to the Nuthouse thing last night. I only managed to listen to about the last third of it or something. And you were talking about 25-year-old Romanians becoming grannies.
23. Yeah, I'll put the link up in the chat. I'll go find it. But it was like the youngest grandmother like in modern recorded history. Like them Romanians are some weird folk. Apparently, they get at it.
So Australia, for fuck's sake, gonna get me killed.
There's a few in the queue of the chipper there.
For fuck's sake, shut up with you.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's go on to the undercard quickly before we get cancelled. David Morrell getting a first round knockout win over Yamaguchi Falcao. Melakuziev getting his revenge over Rosado. He's still open as a flipping horse hole, isn't he, Melakuziev? He's going to get knocked out soon, and not by old Gabe Rosado. The Gabe keeper does enough just to keep himself relevant without winning a fight. Elijah Garcia, nice quick turnaround, had a few troubles with Kevin Salgado. He was a nice boxer to head and body early on. I thought that was a bit of a quick turnaround and it could have gone wrong for Garcia, but he got through it. Vital Malnicki, actually, I saw him at ringside, didn't realise he'd got a fourth round knockout earlier on. Jaleel Major Hackett, a fighter I'm very high on, got a win on the undercard as well. What did you see the best of the undercard, Andy? David Morrell, actually, Dominic messaged me a couple of days before the fight and said, what's his Falcao like that Morrell's going in with? And I says, he's pretty terrible, can't punch. He'll be gone in about 3 or 4 rounds. Even I overestimated the contribution he was about to make.
Yeah, it's the only fight I've seen on that undercard, to be honest, mate. And considering, Falcao's amateur record and that, he has been pretty poor as a pro, to be fair. I mean, he's fought all the top amateurs running about his weight class, but Morel, on the other hand, is that as well. But it was pretty vicious punches at the end of the day. And I thought the referee kind of left Falcao out to dry. Actually, I thought he could have stopped the fight way before they got iced. But Morel knew at this point, mate. I think if people are shitting on Garcia, they need to see him, get resistance and get tested, all that type of thing. I think they need to start aiming that one also at fucking Morel and that as well. We need to see him in with opponents that are going to not so much extend him rounds, because we've seen him go rounds. Just want to see him kind of like have a bit of a battle, maybe a back and forward. But he is a talent without doubt. But I just want to see him in the better at this point. To be fair, I don't suppose I'm just especially when he's got a fragment of a belt. It's too much to ask at this point to see him in the better at this point. I know Falcao was ranked. Someone said to me on Twitter last night he was ranked top 8 with the BA. Don't know if that's true or not, but
he was supposed to fight that Sena Agbeko, wasn't he? Who isn't great, but he's a bit sturdier, and he pulled out. But Morel, what's his ceiling, Andy, do you think?
Falco had never been stopped, so I mean, fair play to him. He just wiped him the fuck off the planet.
He doesn't fuck about, does he, Morel? Like, he gets
no. I mean, I think, to be honest, what's his ceiling? To be fair, I think he can go pretty far.
I think so too.
He just needs to prove it now. That's it. I mean, like, I've just pulled up the BA ranking and say, right, that's no fucking great, man. To be fair, you got McCrory, Mbili, Khalid Plant in there. If he's beat Falcao, number 6 actually was her number 8. You mentioned that guy Agbeko. Makuzlev is coming up top 12. You just want to see him in maybe the Benavidez, and I suppose that'll be an easier fight to make actually at this point in that as well, considering the promotional situation. Alvarez is going to be fighting. He's tied up for the next 2 fights, I would imagine, in that as well. So who do you put him in with?
I wouldn't want to put him in with Benavidez
eventually
until they get Benavidez against Canelo, because you're talking about the biggest events in recent boxing memory in the United States. That would be fucking huge. Oh my God, would the Mexicans come out for that fight like fucking mad?
Him against Benavidez would be a war, but Morel's an on-top fighter, isn't he? And Benavidez would push him back, so I'd be interested to see how Morel would cope with that.
I'm going to be honest with you, mate.
Canelo against Benavidez is the event. That was the
Canelo not take that, I don't think.
Well, that's a shame, because I mean that would be a huge white. And if they can't make that Benavidez against Morel, fuck yes.
And Billy, Matt Butters is mentioned. That would be interesting when Billy would come forward and take his licks. And I tell you what, Morel would dish out some licks, Andy, on him.
He would. And I'm saying, I'm looking at this. I don't think there's not much there. I would say, I mean, you and I kind of think that Morel could go quite far. I don't think there's much here in those rankings that there's much to bother him, to be fair. I think he would ice Berlanga, but he signed by Eddie now, I think.
Yep.
Pacheco, I think, is now a free agent. He had that one on Sky. I forget who he beat. Wasn't it Zach Parker? Who was it he beat?
Oh God, the Cleaver, little lever Cleaver. What do you call him? Oh, Jack
Cullen.
Jack Cullen, yeah. Joe Cullen, Jack Cullen. No, Joe Cullen's a darts player. Something like that.
And you got McCrory, you got Pat McCrory there.
Gosh. That'd be fucking brutal. I love Podrick like I know him, but oh my God. Berlanga's being set up for Canelo, isn't he? Let's be honest. Eddie signed him for a reason. Once he fight him.
Yeah, it's Puerto Rico against Mexico.
Yeah, it makes sense, and he'll knock him into oblivion.
Yeah, he's gonna demolish him inside of 6.
I don't think Plant would be interested in that either. You've got Gongora. I think he's now seen better days. He's maybe just running that B side, and that William Skull. I think that's the one. Is it German or whatever it is? I don't think he's going to be much great.
They don't take people like that, aren't they? They're not going to be interested in those no names. I don't think, for the likes of. Even though you mentioned Pacheco as well, he's like 15-0 now. But even though he's had 5 more fights than Morel, he doesn't feel like he's as far on. I know Morel's got that fake title. He's essentially still a contender, as MB was saying. But he just feels so much further on than people like Pacheco.
Morel has such a deep amateur background, though, Steve. I mean, and let me say, in that fight when he backed off of Falcao, I think that was his old amateur background kicking in, because the ref would have gone in for a standing 8 count in a second on that shot where he first staggered Falcao. Because I mean, so he's still kind of unwinding some of that, and it's amazing he does what he does, considering how ingrained that amateur stuff is in him.
Well, do you know what else was sitting in as well? Look at his last fight against Bosanuli. Stuck him in a coma.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to step off, aren't you? That may be playing on your mind or something.
Apparently not. Because he went in there. I mean, he just
for a split second though. He's like, "Flip me, do you want me to do another one here?" I can't remember if Bossa nearly ended up going the distance or not, or did he get stopped?
No, it got stopped with like a minute and a half left.
That was uncomfortable as hell.
Yeah, that was a violent end to that fight. That was, but I think considering what he came up from in it's stuff like I don't think he's going to let that stop him from achieving his dream. And he's a very smart man. I think when you look at somebody who learns English so quickly and understands that they have to connect with the audience through language in order to maximize their star power, I think that shows you a general intellect, and you see it also in his ring IQ coming through. And that's kind of the intangible with Morel. Is I think if you separate 168 by who is the best this, that, and the other, I think Morel potentially has the best ring IQ of the bunch.
And as well, he's like you said, he's learned the language. He's built himself up in Minneapolis, got himself a real good fan base there. He's he's part of this new breed of exciting Cuban fighters. Him, that Perro showed it, Lenia Perro in the heavyweights. Yo Elvis Gomez, I know he's got all fat now, but they're the new breed. They realise that Rigondo, as skilled as he is, Rancid, even Lara to a point, as skilled as they were, people don't want to watch that shit too often, landing one or two punches around. So they've come out throwing bombs, and everyone's the better for that kind of style, I think. Anything else on the undercard, Matty? Like I said, Melakuziev, I think he did what he needed to do, but at times he was leaning in, throwing that left hand. He knew that Rosado hadn't got anything to offer. He's an accident waiting to happen, isn't he? He looks like an Irish bare knuckle boxer, Melakuziev, as well, with the hair flying backwards and forwards, but he's going to get himself knocked out again, man. I'm not impressed. He will be an exciting fight, but I don't see a big ceiling for him.
He really hits hard to the body. That's something I'll say about him. Is that guy just wings body shots, and that's part of why Rosado was able to spark him. Don't get yourself wrong. That was a 1 in a million shot Rosado landed. I'm kind of surprised this one went the distance, but Gabe, tough son of a bitch, per usual. Probably maybe one around in the fight. Not a whole lot happening, but I can see what you're saying. Melakuziev, he's probably going to, get himself into a mandatory for some secondary title or something, and he'll get and he'll get beat in that instance. But a guy with you have to consider a guy with those punches and a very accurate body puncher to boot. Man, you catch that shot behind the elbow, anybody could be going down. There's no guarantee. So he's a dark horse at 168, I'd say for sure. The gatekeeper definitely needs to step aside now. I think he does pretty good on the mic on some telecasts. He's been at it for a really long time. Definitely admire his courage and balls. More than pretty almost any other fighter of his era. He passed up a very easy road to being a tight list in a weak 154-pound division to take on monsters in the weight classes above. Right off into the sunset, you gave us some great fights that you got a knockout of the year under your belt too. It's just time for Rosado to call it a day.
Yeah, the American Derek Chisora, Johnny says the boys in the chat are talking about Morel, Melakuziev. They are in around the same amount of fights, but yeah, I think it's night and day. Melakuziev hits hard, especially to the body, but I think he's just too open. He leans in too much, and his hands are too low. Morel would absolutely spark him, I think. Anyway, boys, that's all we'll do for that card for now. Just to remind everybody at home, you're listening to episode 520 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Rob's here in the chip shop queue. Matty's here as well. So is Andy. Let's see who's floating about in the chat before we go on to the Joe Cordina fight. Johnny's there. Jim McDonald Boxing is floating about as usual as well. We've got Mark Stanton, Michael Thompson, Teacher Sonny D as well. Shout out to Teacher Sonny D, by the way. He bought us a coffee this week on Buy Us a Coffee on the Boxing Asylum. He left a little message, actually. I think it's disappeared. Let me see if I can bring it up here. For some reason, as I mentioned before, the StreamYard delete our comments, but here we go. He says, keep up the great work, lads. Where's Donny Baseball these days? Must be devastated about Amir Khan's posthumous ban.
Donny called me last night when they were doing the ring walks, and he just started talking to me, and he's like, yeah, nobody, I invite people over, and then everybody ditched me, so I'm just sitting here watching by myself. I'll call you back after the first couple of rounds. And then he hung up, and then he never called me back. So anyhow, that's what Donnie's doing.
His missus told him to go and tidy up the house for one reason only.
cracking that whip, strapping that on.
yeah. Donnie's still about, Sonny D, but thanks for the buy us a coffee.com/boxing asylum if you want to throw in a few quid. If you want to throw in a super chat as well, you're more than welcome. Danny Young's floating with us in the chat. Ready to fluff him out, Lithgow 1983.
Oh, Steve, hold on.
Yo.
Season 1 Prediction League winner.
Sorry.
Danny Young.
Need to give him his prefix. Need to give him his title.
Get the respect.
Is that season 1 or season 2?
Season 1, because they didn't
regular
really do a payout because they really didn't do any payouts for the first time around. So
regular champion Danny Young.
Is my season 1 win null and void now then, Matty? I thought I was undisputed unified champion.
You won one of the 2 seasons of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse Prediction League. So you and Rob get to hold your heads high as the only winners of this prestigious event.
But I won the panel one and the Nutters one, man. I'm unified.
How much money did you win?
Fucking Teofimo when I had the world at my feet now, you know what I mean?
I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the glory and the titles. Don't take them away from me.
Well, you get an honorable mention, but Danny cashed in.
Okay, thanks very much. Shout out to ABC.
I don't know where that puts Danny then below me as the lineal champ. I don't know. I have to work it out for him.
Yeah, I'm the forgotten man now, according to Danny. Thanks very much. ABC's there, Ben Russell. Shout out to Andrew Thickett over on Facebook. David Mustard, MB, number 1. Dropping a number 1 there for us. Who else have we got here? Just scrolling on up. Iron Fisted Champions with us as well. We had a few trolls earlier, but they've got no stamina. They always disappear. Christmas was with us. Des is with us as well. He's not a troll. Let's see.
Well, unless you ask Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, let's see Eddie Hearn. Who else have we got? Frenchie's with us. Shout out to Frenchie. He says big up the pod. Chris Butler as well. Let's see if we can find another couple before we go on to the Welsh show. Mark Stanton, already mentioned him. Let's mention him twice. Why not? Baron Bedsores. Steve's in the Who Needs Him club, says Michael Thompson. Absolutely. Feeling a bit unwanted here. Anyway, we're going to the Savage shortly. Let's go on to Wales, first of all. Let's move on swiftly from that prediction league. No interest myself. Shavkat Rakimov losing his title, IBF World Super Featherweight title against Joe Cordina. He landed a few good shots. He got caught with a cracking left hand, Andy, to the jaw in the second round. He was cut as well. There was issues over the drugs testing. He got a 116, 111 in his favour, which was a bit unprecedented. All in all, it was a fun 12 rounds, you know, Andy. I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a great fight, to be fair, mate. I think it was probably fair to say maybe fight of the weekend. I thought Cordina performed pretty well, very well actually, considering he's in activity levels anyway, and he's had the hand surgery that he's had to kind of come back from as well. So fair play to him for that. I thought the game plan was a bit risky early doors because he was really planting his feet, really letting his hands go, a lot of snap behind those shots, you know, very, very, quick combinations. You kind of think, can he keep that up? I felt he maybe kind of tired a little bit, or maybe just kind of laid it off a little bit around the 4th and 5th. Rakimov, man, he's damn tough. That's one thing, as Oscar would say, tough and rugged. Came to fight. Obviously, he's paid the price for how he looks and that, and the face looking like a bag of spanners. But as much as he was game and coming forward and landing from time to time, I just thought like the skill and the talent for Cordina was kind of pulled it off in the end. I thought it was close on the cards. As you mentioned, that 116, 111 at Rakimov. That's another judge to put on the shit list. I don't know how he's come to that scorecard, actually, to be fair. I did think actually as well after the knockdown. I thought he tuned him pretty good. I thought he could have maybe got him out of there, but then you forget that Rakimov is tough and he is going to be hard to kind of keep in the end anyway. So just want to kind of call out that judge. Rakimov, although he's violence personified, and that there's only so many times you can take punches like that, and you wonder what's going to be left to him going forward in that as well. So great fight. Excellent fight. Just pity about one of those scorecards. I thought Cordina won it by a couple at least. Definitely kind of fair play to Rakimov. He played his part in that as well down the stretch. And obviously I just want to reference to what Igis Klimas's tweet earlier on there by saying I think even Eddie confirmed there was no VADA testing for this fight, and apparently, according to Igis Klima, someone from Matchroom actually called to Rakimov's team requesting a drug sample. So I don't know if Matchroom have got an in-house drug team these days. I don't know where they're storing these samples or whatever and that, but
Andy,
I wonder if I'll get followed up on.
Andy, what I think they're doing, given its Matchroom, is they're just making sure that Rakimov fulfilled his obligation to go in there drugged up to the gills and give the people a hell of a fight. They're just making sure that he held up his end of the bargain.
No, I think what they're going to do is get Rakimov's piss sample and then put right Conor Benn's name on the sticker and say, look, we found it.
I think at this stage, like, we're fucking naive if we just think, like, I know there's people like casting assertions and all that over gyms and all that now, but you just have to look down the list, like, Jesus Christ, they're all fucking on it. Now, hopefully none of those two from last night pop hot for anything either. And tarnish the sport, like, but not saying Cordina or the other guy, but even on the Tank Garcia one, you wouldn't like to see it, but you're never surprised these days. Like, but I thought that was a great fight. Steve was talking earlier about rhythm and that. Like, I thought Cordina, when he gets into his rhythm, his technique and everything, the way he's so loose when he throws the shots, but he's able to get power and snap behind him, accurate. And Nuthouse just came to try and break him down, like, but it's the shot he walked onto in the early part of the fight was a fucking peach, like. And I thought the scorecards were fair enough. I don't know, Igis was complaining about the scorecards, wasn't he? Like, I thought it was a fair winner in a close fight, like.
I think as well, Matty, what Rob was saying there, he gets into a nice rhythm, Cordina, and he gets he has a certain distance, doesn't he, that he's very comfortable at. If you can't get past the jab and he's letting his shots go and he has his feet in position at this certain range, he's going to be very difficult to beat.
Yeah, he did a really good job of picking his shots, and he definitely landed the harder, cleaner shots down the stretch. But both of these guys landed some bombs. Both of them hurt multiple times in the fight. Lots of swings and momentum going on. Again, I agree. I think the scorecards were fair. There were some swing rounds in there, but I think if you're talking like 114, 113 for Rakimov up to 115, 112 for Cordina, I don't think there's really any true complaints in that. I think those are legitimate cards, but it was a truly entertaining fight. You wonder what might be the next move for Cordina. I think, isn't Archie Sharp still waiting in the rankings and still waiting for a fight for a chance at that 130-pound belt? I don't know if that was the division he was ranked at. And, who knows if that's an easy domestic fight to make.
Anthony Kakachi maybe would be a nice domestic fight to make, sort of domestic, like.
Yeah, possibly. But honestly, Steve, what I would really like is to see these guys go at it again, because this was a high quality fight that entertained the fans. And it truly delivered. I told you last week that I thought that this would be the best fight of the weekend. You disagreed. But here we are, and I polled the Nutters, and they agreed. Best fight of the weekend, and I think that's something fun we might do out of the group now, is do a poll for the best fight of the weekend and keep a log on that, because that'll be interesting to look back at the end of the year on what we might have had.
No, you're absolutely right, Matty. I thought Rakimov landed a lot of good body shots, but he just wasn't in any position physically or mentally to capitalise late on in the fight, especially against this guy, Mr. Boring, they call him, Andy, but he's become Mr. Excitement all of a sudden.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't even know who that guy was until I actually go and checked him out. So he's got his he's worked with numerous celebrities and other athletes, etc. and that. So he's very high into how to get the energy system to develop and all that type of thing and that as well. So I'm not going to cast any claims at the minute, but it just makes you wonder a wee bit on that, because he's been looking fantastic the last couple of fights. But he's got talent. That's good to see. Hopefully it goes a long way, and we'll wait and see. We'll just take it a fight at a time, mate.
Absolutely. Talking a fight at a time, go through the undercard if you want one fight at a time. I thought that Craig Woodruff, the rematch against Gavin Gwynn, was decent. Gwynn's developing into quite a tasty little fighter, actually. He's a pretty solid box puncher, goes to the body well as well. Zelfa Barrett has a certain ceiling. They're kind of pushing him as best as they can up towards world level, but don't think he's quite at that level right now. Luke Watkins landed a few good shots on Jordan Thompson, but Thompson was just too much of a unit, really, and just powered through him, as the better fighters tend to do. And Sandy Ryan, I'm a fan now, as you know, Andy, man. I'd say she'd have a bit of bite in her, all right, against Marie-Pierre Houle, old miles per hour. So that was the undercard.
I'm not going to repeat what I said to you on the old messenger last night. but, but it makes sense now that he's got turkey teeth. But obviously this undercard was kind of like broadcast at the same time as some of the shenanigans over in Poland, so I was kind of like had them kind of on side by side. I did catch bits of Gwyn against Woodruff. I think Gwyn just kind of like wore Woodruff down in the end, didn't he? Just kind of like overwhelmed him in the end. Barrett only caught bits of it, to be fair, mate, and I've seen bits of Ryan in that as well. I think she was pretty dominant in her fight for what I've seen of that. Didn't see Thompson against Watkins, to be fair, although in the stoppage, I think someone says, according to Twitter anyway. And so I kind of seen, mate. Dangerous Dave Lee was saying it wasn't a great shakes on the card, so I'm kind of glad I maybe missed it, actually.
So you're talking to Dave's, Andy, just before you shoot off there. Hater Dave Lowback has slid in, apparently. Someone's alerted me to this. He says, looks like Garcia quit. Not that I blame him. Yeah, it sounds like he watched the fight, but maybe he didn't. Who knows?
He didn't, mate. I know he didn't. He'll probably just make it up.
I miss Dave. I miss him.
Ever since he got married, though, man, he's went right off the rails, hasn't he? He's got himself civilized. He's got himself domesticated. What can we say?
Comes to the best of them. Anything from the undercard, Matty, from you in Wales? If not, we can move on.
Oh, no, we can move on, Steve. That's cool.
Oh, we're ready to move on. Right, just before we go on to the Babic card, actually, a couple of shows coming up next week. You know me, I like to fish around BoxRec and find some anomalies, some nonsense going on there. So first of all, where are we? Let me see if I can bring up the clip here. We have this gentleman, Stephen Hughes. He's from Wales. He's had a 13-year career, been knocked out 7 times. He's turning up next week as the home fighter in the Coliseo Noel Cogolo in Colombia. So Juan Lucky KO Warrior Promotions next Friday evening. He's going in against Davis Berrocal in a 4-rounder in the beautiful surroundings of Colombia. So from Saint Asaph, is that in Wales? Bit of a random one.
I wonder if he's got an HGV license by Colombia.
He's a 5'10" heavyweight.
What are they doing to make money off of this? Are they going to be putting cocaine in his ass for the return flight home? I don't see the economics.
He's going to hide it in his beard.
Just talking about BoxRec anomalies. Did you see the card next week that Michael Hunter's fighting on next week?
Aye, there's about flipping 50 odd nights. That Dogbo's fighting twice in one night, isn't it?
Mate, I'm telling you right now, see if you got all those fighters and train them into like a military formation, that's a fucking battalion strength you've got. There's like fucking 100 fights on that card.
There must be some kind of malfunction going on with BoxRec at the moment, isn't there? Because that's happening all the time.
It's on some sort of Indian reserve land and that as well, so you can only imagine the quality you're going to end up getting served. I wonder if Tunbox will probably have a pay-per-view link.
Would imagine so. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. For anyone who hasn't noticed it, Matt Butters alerted me to it. In fact, Isaac Dogbo is keeping active. He only fought the other day, and he's going in supposedly against Deontay Brown. And he's also supposed to be fighting someone else. Eames, is it, on the same night? We've also got Michael Hunter's supposed to be fighting Norman Neely. Skylar Lacey's also supposed to be fighting Norman Neely. I don't know what's going on at the moment with BoxRec, but it's a bit of an anomaly. Easy for me to say. Also next week, Matty, you might be interested in this one. On Martin Bacoli fight weekend, no less. Prince Andrew's back in action. We've been following his... Prince Andrew Lorio, 24 years of age, is fighting in the Filipino Games and Amusement Board in Rizal, the Philippines. He's in against Mervyn Lulu. He fought last time in Cambodia and got knocked out in a round for the IBA bantamweight title against Van Thao Tran. He's going in against Mervyn Lulu. So shout out to Prince Andrew, Matty.
Party on, Prince Andrew. The only Prince Andrew that matters. The other one's a nonce, right?
Quite kind of party, that'll be. Anyway, moving on.
Do you remember Prince Andrew's wife, by the way? Fergie?
Yeah.
Aye. You can't she did the only thing the Argentinians couldn't do.
What's that?
Blow up Andrew's chopper.
I feel like we're on dangerous territory. Fighting on Epstein Island to say man down. Oh dear. Right, let's move on swiftly then, shall we? What we're going to move on to, who knows? So yeah, Isaac Dogbo, whether he's fighting next week or not, we are not sure.
Isaac Dogbo?
Yeah.
Fighting next week?
Isaac? Apparently so.
Isaac?
Isak Dogbo. He's supposed to be down on BoxRec. That's what we were saying. Supposed to be fighting two people on the same night.
Do you speak English?
I'm just Dogbo just fucking fought Stevenson.
Aye, that's what I'm saying.
Sorry.
That's a true statement.
Yeah, against Ramirez Ramirez. He's down to fight two different
Ramirez,
people next weekend. Yeah,
Aye.
BoxRec's malfunctioning. That's the conclusion I'm coming to.
I think that different promoters send them different information is what happens.
Yeah.
And they're all trying to get the same people in for a fight, and it's just all a bunch of, because especially you got to think like these small time boxing promoters. How many of these people are on the up and up, right, Steve? And I think the more curious thing about Dogba, if he is fighting, is it not with a top ranked card? Did Bob sever his contract? I'm kind of curious.
I don't know. I think he's probably on a need to know basis, isn't he? With Bob, he brings him in to get battered by somebody, and then ships him off out again. No, there's no love lost in this sport.
He's been getting the right side of decisions and coming up in fights, so I would tend to think he was just a liked top-ranked fighter at this point in time. Yeah.
Well said. Talking to people on the way up, Take Ames is in the chat. Welcome to him. Working over for seconds out these days. I nearly forgot about the Cabbaged there, or Babic over in Poland. Can't forget about him. So, yeah, I'll tell you what, Andy, you know what? At least he comes out and has a go, doesn't he? Can't say much about him. He's in against this big fat guy, Lucas Rosinski. Both of them big punchers. Babic came out, threw a few shots, got hurt within about the first 10 seconds or so. And then he just got stopped. He wasn't too happy about it. The referee was grinning away. Seemed like they're having a great time there. There was women with massive knockers at ringside. Everyone was going berserk. It's a fun weekend in Poland, by all accounts.
Some top talent ringside, to be fair, mate. But you could always see it coming, to be fair, but I thought he might have lasted a wee bit longer, actually, to be fair. Was it like 90 seconds of the first round? Just bad all round, to be fair. As I'll not say what Hergovich said and that, but that's what's going to happen if he meets any top heavyweight. But over this was at Bridgeweight, but I can see, you can always see why Eddie didn't kind of really bid for the fight in the end. Just he got no movement, even after that first knockdown. He gets up, he just stands there, doesn't try to hold, tries to kind of like swing back, and then just gets duffed up really, and just gets dropped, stopped, and that'll be that. Thank you and good night, and we'll no need to put up with him in the UK shows again, hopefully in the future. So. Same goes for some of the other stuff in that card and that as well. I mean, the guy that Bacoli fought, the big Ukrainian, teak tough, man.
Tough, wasn't he? I thought he was a tough wee fat bastard, him.
280 pounds of teak toughness, but it was bag work, mate, wasn't it? I mean, and Bacoli was really spiteful with some of his shots, who, by the way, I don't know if he trained for that fight, and I don't know what he kind of like fluctuates between. It didn't look like he was in great shape, did he? It looked like he was just flab and just flat. He on him, did he? So he looked awful, but you know, he kept the punches going at least. So
got the uppercut going, didn't he, Bacoli?
And then he gets outed on Polish national television by Dillian White, which we'll get into later on. And Michael Sislak, the big Pole, the cruiserweight, he won the European title against a French guy, and that again he was pretty on point in that as well, pretty dominant. Stopped the guy, I think it was the fourth round, knocked him out. So
scary looking bastard, isn't he? Sislak, I wouldn't like to mess with him. He's in good shape too, mate.
He is in good shape, but he's been over the course now. A couple of guys, obviously, he fought Okolie, who was the other guy that fought?
Makabe. Didn't Makabe beat him in the Congo or something?
Possible. That's what it was. I was out in some fucking car park. I remember that. So he's European champion. I thought it was okay stuff. There was a couple of Brits, I'm sure. Like Boris Crichton for Glasgow. And I'm sure there was a guy for London, possibly. On that
Jamie Shakiva, they call him Jamie TKV now, which is a good move for the branding, I think, because the surname's a bit hard to work out. But I tell you what, he lets the shots go, Andy. He's a good body puncher, that Shakiva. I like what I see from him.
I put the guy down pretty brutally, actually. So, again, I when I seen the abbreviation on his surname, I thought it was maybe like a YouTuber or something like that, until I actually delved into him. Anything's possible in these shows, and you never know, So, he looked okay. I thought for a heavyweight and that as well, like you see, maybe kind of slimmed down a wee bit, possibly. I don't know. But yeah, look, it wasn't great. It wasn't bad, to be fair. Certainly, it was better than what the Zone had on there last night and top to the main event. So it was okay, fella.
Yeah, well said. S. McCowan says, appreciate all y'all. Rarely get to hear live, usually replays on Spotify, but thanks for all the shows, fellas. Well, you are welcome, Mr. McCowan. Number one says, want to see Babic versus Lorena now. Des, Matty says they got Babic a trainer who didn't want the Savage to be Savage, wanted him to get behind the jab and to give himself some room. There was always a ceiling for Babic, but this wasn't it. Did you watch the fight? Are you familiar with the body of work of the Savage, Matty?
He was always going to get sparked, right? I mean, it was just a matter of when. This fight, he was actually a slight favorite in Rosansky was even money in this, and it just seemed like this was probably the time. It was becoming clearer and clearer. Didn't matter what trainer was what, and fair play to the trainer. I mean, Babic didn't last long enough for it to even see what he might have learned. I think Babic is what he is, Steve, and I think he's good bang for his buck. Just pure entertainment factor. Some guys are just fighters that you watch because they go in there and they slug, and you just have to match them correctly. It's you don't have to be a world titleist to matter. So try to match Babic in some entertaining fights, and let him move on and just kind of do his thing. As for Rosansky, I mean, he is what he is, but the Bridgerweight title's a joke. He was just a fat little fuck in there, and but I mean, he's got a bit of a punch about him, and he can defend his joke of a title to his heart's content.
He can indeed. Good luck to the Babic, the Savage, in fact, going forward. Andy, off air, we were talking about this BT card next weekend, Liam Davis against Jason Cunningham. You were mentioning how there wasn't much filled out to do with the undercard. Well, there's not much filled out to do with the main event either, because I just clicked on the link to discuss it, and it says no results found. So that show seems to be falling apart by the second.
Well, if Ozzy was only maybe gives a wee bit of information, but fight's not been pulled, has it? Surely someone would have mentioned that.
Possibly, I don't know. I thought it was weird, and I know you picked up on it too about the fact there was no undercard. Frank usually has that up, but if anyone in the chat knows anything about that, it did come out the blue. Liam Davis is maturing into a real nice fighter, and Cunningham's very experienced, but yeah, looks like might be off.
So that would be nothing on for next week then?
No, there's not very much. Apart from that Zapata DAZN card, which we'll get through shortly, it doesn't seem like there's too much going on, Andy.
I even forgot about the Zapata card until you guys mentioned it before we came on live, actually. So, fucking shows you how much I was prepared for that one.
No,
what about the following week? Is following week the Lomachenko fight?
We have a question about Lomachenko, actually, from Hattem, so we'll go to you on this one, Andy. He says, are people underwhelmed with Loma's pro career? Has he met expectations or exceeded them? Has he failed to live up to the hype? Did he turn pro too late, or is it Aram's fault? Quite a few questions in one there. But generally, with Loma, are you overwhelmed, underwhelmed? Has he exceeded expectations? What's your overall vibe on him, Andy?
How many questions? There's about 3 or 4 questions in there. Underwhelmed about his pro career. Maybe some of the opponents, for example, I need to go and pull up his record, but I think there was a Thai fighter, for example, in there. I mean, I think he went for Gary Russell Jr. to a couple of non-scripted no match before he fought Roman Martinez. So I can see the point, maybe being a bit underwhelmed there for about a good year. But then he picked it up really around about, after Nicholas Walters, Sosa, Mariaga, Rigondo. People were kind of picking up on the Rigondo fight because he was coming up in weight when it was Rigondo was making the challenge, I suppose. That was another part of the question. Has he met expectations or exceeded them? To be fair, I think he's done pretty much what we expected him to do, because I think if you look at the Salido fight and that as well, I thought he showed good part of him that he actually adapted halfway through that fight. He actually made it close on the cards down the stretch. Potentially could have got a draw. The Lopez fight, he left it too late to get started. You can blame the injury if you want, but at the end of the day, the fact he left it too late to get started. He seems to be a guy who, and Bob Arm mentioned this before actually, he seems to be a guy that he's actually gets involved in arguments with Arm if the opponent doesn't meet his expectations. So, to be fair, to come out of, the Lopez fight, I think he had the surgery on the shoulder. He's come back, he's beaten Nakatani, Kwame, and that guy Ortiz. Then he's going with Devin Haney. I don't think that's too bad, to be fair, considering he's coming off surgery. He's had those 3 comeback fights. It's pretty okay after considering what's happened with his family in Ukraine, having to get them kind of sorted out, that type of thing. It's taken a wee bit of time off his career. I think it's been okay. Whether it's exceeded expectations, I'm not too sure about that one. Did he turn pro too late, or is it Arm's fault? Look, at the end of the day, I think these guys were getting good money or getting good training, good facilities when they were Ukrainian squad. They were getting good money in the WSB. And I'm supposing that as well. You could say that maybe the politics doesn't help matters and that, but here we are. He's fought Lopez, he's fought Haney, or he's fighting Haney at least. Not many others I can say that. I mean, we've had Garcia fight Davis now, so at least we're having these fights happening as such. Loma seems to be the one that seems to be fighting, shall we say, the bigger tests, if that's fair to say. Unless we bit off with that one, unless he's tried to kind of look for the bigger fights.
Yeah, well, the point you make there is exactly the point I would make. I think it's lived up to expectations based on his intention. Right from the very start of his career, he made it clear that he wasn't going to mess around. He went straight into a 10-rounder against a former world title challenger, fought Salido very early, Russell, blah, blah, blah. And all throughout his career, he's moved up in weight as best as he can. I know he dragged Rigo up, which is a bit of an anomaly, but the other fights, he's gone up in weight. He's constantly, in my opinion, looked for the biggest available fights that he could possibly get. So the intention from the very first time he pulled on the pro gloves to now has been there. Whether the fights haven't happened, that's always going to happen because of boxing politics. But I think he has genuinely tried to make the best fights and fight the best he can, no matter what weight. So from that point of view, given the intention he turned pro with, I think he's met expectations.
Yeah, I think so as well. And obviously then getting the Haney fight, because there was a point, it seemed to be like the fight had just not seemed to collapse, but it seemed to kind of went quiet on the potential happening fronts, and then it just seemed to kind of pick up. So I'm glad the fight's happening at least. And you see, he could have easily went another path. Haney could have vacated, went up in weight and that as well. But yeah, look, we've got to be grateful this fight's happening at the end of the day. It doesn't matter who wins and who loses at the end of the day. These fights are happening. These are fights that we want to see. So, I'm happy for Loma to have like a Comey or Ortiz fight as long as we get something meaningful on the back end, and we're getting that. But expectation-wise, I think at this point, considering how quick he turned or how late he turned over as such, where he is now in his career, I think he's done pretty well. More than pretty well. I mean, obviously the Linares fight always kind of sticks out to me. Probably that was when he was at his absolute peak. Obviously the injuries kind of picked up a wee bit. He had the hand problem, he had the shoulder issue, obviously, in that as well. COVID hit. That's had a bit of knock-on effect for everybody in that as well. So, I don't know if he's over met expectations. I think he's done what was expected, really. But I agree with what you're saying. He's looking out for the biggest challenges possible, and also within the realms of the possibility within the the political sphere and that as well, because you could argue that is he really a drawn power that he could maybe pull across another fighter from another promotion? I don't think he's got that.
Yeah, I think throwing the condensed nature of his career and the fact of things like COVID and Ukraine and the pulling power and that, then yeah, I think he's done very well. Excuse me, Matty, any thoughts from you there, sir?
There was a couple of throwaway fights. I think he was on the Pacquiao Mayweather undercard, and there was a junk fight that he was in there. But
they pulled him back a couple of fights after Russell, didn't they? And said, let's just take the foot off the gas a little bit, have a couple of defenses against no marks.
Yeah, and I think that was a mistake. I mean, he obviously had a limited timeline based on his age and things, and that's really the only question of what if is, what might have happened. Maybe if he had turned pro just a little bit earlier. But I think he's gotten quite a lot out of it, and it's just at the wrong place. If he was 5 years younger, I think we'd be discussing, how, as I said earlier, I don't know, who's weakest between Shakur, Haney, and Tank. And 5-6 years, if he was 5-6 years younger, I think there'd be a fourth name in there, and that speaks volumes. It happens to be when when things happen when they do, and it just wasn't the perfect time for a fighter of Lomachenko's ability.
Everything happens for a reason, Matty, would you say?
Maybe so. Sometimes you just get fucked.
Going pretty deep on this Sunday evening. Is there a God matter?
What? Yeah, I don't know if there's a God or not, but if there is, may you have mercy on my fucking soul.
You're doomed, my friend. You're doomed. Don't worry about it, though.
That's sad.
More fun down below. Right, we're all doomed next week, as Andy said. The card was never on, according to Take Aims in the chat, so there's no BT action. But we do have a bit of stateside action. Oscar De La Hoya, if he's managed to sober himself up by next week, in the College Park Center, Arlington, Texas. William Zapata is going in a 10-rounder against Jaime Arboleda. I seem to remember Arboleda. I think he got stopped by Chris Colbert a few fights ago. Yes, he did. He's had a few wins since then, 3 wins in a row, including a stoppage victory over Jonathan Barros, who was a decent fighter once upon a time. Would hope that Segura, or Zepeda rather, will be getting rid of him. Diego De La Hoya, his career's stumbling on like a drunk in the night. He's going against Victor Morales. Don't think I've ever heard of him. He had a draw 3 fights ago with Rudy Garcia. Fought Olguin. Yeah, I'm not really sure about Mr. Morales. And Marlon Esparza, Matty, might as well start with you. You like a bit of Esparza. Is she the one that I like, Esparza? Or is it the other one I like? Didn't she lose to someone in a bit of a grudge match?
I think that
Estrada?
I think you like Estrada, and
Yeah, I like Estrada.
And Esparza lost to Sinisa Estrada a couple years back, and she's really trying to position herself to get a rematch with Sinisa, picking up some titles here and there. Don't know much about her opponent whatsoever, but Marlon is in a place where she really can't stumble if she's hoping to rebuild off of that. I think both a fight against Sinisa Estrada or maybe Jessica Neri Plata are both ones that can make money by terms in that in the women's side of the sport. But she always comes in. She throws a lot of punches. Not the hardest puncher of the sport, but her right hand is definitely a better weapon than her record would suggest. So I'm looking forward to this, to seeing how she does, because I do think Sinisa obviously beats her again, but there's not a whole lot going on there. I think Estrada is going to have to take a big weight jump and really challenge herself before she runs into any opponents that are going to really put her back up against the ropes. But so a rematch with Esparza, not the worst to make, but their DAZN one is, and then Sinisa's top rank, so who fucking knows anymore. But we shall see. My hunch is Sinisa is going to end up against Plata, or Neri Plata, but that'll probably be about 5-6 months down the road.
Yeah, I like Estrada. She's a bit of a shit talker, and she clearly has it in for Esparza. So long may that rivalry continue. Just further down the undercard, notice David Stevens, 12-0 with 9 knockouts. He calls himself Dynamite. He should get another one because he's going against Marco Antonio Periban. I saw him in the flesh in his last fight against Podrick McCrory, and he could barely stand up straight. That was even walking to the ring, let alone after he started getting hit with a few shots. So I think he'll be out of there. Raul Curiel. I wonder if it's anything to do with Freddie Curiel. He was a fighter back in the day. He's 12-0 anyway, this guy. He's 10 knockouts, so he can clearly bang a bit. Knocked out Brad Solomon in the second round in his last fight. Solomon, who fought on the Mayweather-Pacquiao undercard, hasn't really achieved great things since then, though. Anyway, Curiel's going against Frederick Lawson. Didn't he get banged out by somebody? I'm trying to think. It's all coming back to me. Yeah, Charles Hatley knocked him out. Juan Ruiz and Kevin Bizier. Oh, God, that's not a good look. Getting knocked out by Kevin Bizier. On to the main event, though, Matty. Zepeda was supposed to fight on this weekend's Tank undercard. It got moved to its own show to keep things rumbling over. Arbaladas stepped up in class twice. He's got knocked out twice. I keep on calling him Segura for some reason. That's his mother's name. Zepeda is a banger. He comes forward, throws a lot of shots. Looked really good last time out against Jojo Diaz. Looking forward to seeing him getting in a big fight soon. If he's got anything about him, which we know he has, he'll get rid of Arboleda. Matty, you would have thought?
You would think so, but he has been going the rounds lately. He might be one of those fighters whose power was a little bit overrated at the beginning, but we'll see. I still think that that Zepeda's incredible bang for the buck. He comes in, he throws a lot of punches. He's going to be in a lot of wars throughout his career, however long it might last. So we might not have a whole lot going on here, but you at least have a fighter that comes there and brings it every time he comes out there. I've never ever seen William Zepeda phone it in the ring, so you'll at least see a guy that if he's got a guy that's really overmatched in front of him, he is going to go in there and just demolish him. So the De La Hoya fight might be a little bit interesting on that one. I'm kind of curious to see what the numbers come in on that one. His opponent, kind of a bit of a glossy record, but not a lot behind it. So we'll see on that. But, take a little bit of a break on this, and then we'll have Cinco de Mayo coming up after that, and see if our good buddy John Ryder can't pull off the miracle.
Absolutely. Hopefully John Ryder will pull off the miracle. Ozzy might pull off the miracle as well and come back one of these weekends. Shout out to him. Hope he's okay. Unless I'm missing anything, Matty, is there anything else next weekend? Any show box, any pro box, anything else that could be going on?
There might be something, but I know it's not pro box. There was a pro box card this last weekend, and they do alternating Wednesdays. So we will have 3 pro box cards coming in the month of May. But unfortunately, in the main event in that one, Luis Collazo lost. I'm struggling for his opponent. He still had some good stuff on his punches, still had some speed. He just can't take the shots very much anymore. So Luis Collazo, who turned 43 on Saturday, is calling it a career. A guy that definitely got done wrong on the cards a whole bunch of times. Was a truly quality fighter who took on the best opposition throughout a very long career, a real hard New York City fighter. And I hope that he can find something good in his future, because Luis Collazo definitely gave us some good fights in his career, and he's been a mainstay of boxing for nearly the last 2 decades.
A mainstay of boxing for the last 2 decades. We've been mainstays of boxing for the last decade at least. Episode 520 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Matty's here. Andy is floating about as well, getting a drink somewhere. Rapping Rob Kelly's in the chip shop queue. If he's still alive, we hope so. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the show, and subscribe as well to YouTube. Even if you don't listen to it on YouTube, you might be listening through SoundCloud and all those other places. During the week, I mentioned buymeacoffee.com/Boxing Asylum if you want to donate like Sonny D did. Get the hell over to there if you don't fancy super chats. Also, patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. We had a few people signing up this week, and include, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. There was I'll tell you what, there's some names this week, Matty, in the Patreon signing up. Jerej Pal, I think he's Hungarian, threw in 600 Hungarian thingamajigs over at the Patreon this week and joined us. We had Jay Baton as well. So, old Bait and Switch has jumped in, and Jake Van Ags. So hopefully I'm not doing them a disservice with those surnames, Matty. They sound like fake names to me, but the money's not, completely real. So long may they join us, I say.
Are you sure it's not pronounced Alim Hanallah?
Touche, my friend, touche. Well done, yeah. Patreon.com/Boxing Asylum if you want to join those boys. Just while we're waiting for Andy to come back before we go on to the Bellew of the Week, Matty, Tyson Fury was teasing a big announcement this weekend. He has gone into sort of trolling territory these days. I'm a bit fed up with him, to be honest. They're saying it's going to be Saudi Arabia against Anthony Joshua's leftovers, old fat Andy Ruiz. Would that get the old blood pumping, Matty? Get the pants stirring for you?
You know, apparently the back end of this is to try to have what was it? Fury versus Usyk and Wilder versus Joshua the same night, was it? Towards the end of the year. And if that is what they're working towards and that happens, I think Andy Ruiz is a perfectly fine opponent for him. He's a clear top 10 heavyweight. Who's been in with Joshua. He's also has victory over Luis Ortiz. Lost to Joseph Parker very early in his career in a tremendously close fight when I think we were seeing the best of Joseph Parker. So I don't think it's a bad fight, especially if we get that stuff on the back end of it. It sucks it's all in Saudi Arabia, but what the fuck are you going to do, I guess?
What are you going to do, Andy? Saudi Arabia, Fury against Ruiz. You're going to tune in? Is this something that you're happy with, or is it even going to happen? Is he bullshitting again?
I missed this. Andy Ruiz.
That's what they're saying. Fury against Andy Ruiz in Saudi Arabia.
It's better than Pulev. It's better than Pulev because one of the rumors was Pulev. So no, thank God, no.
I thought that was what do you call him? One of the ex-UFC fighters. What do you call him? Francis Ngannou, or whatever his name was.
I don't know. Maybe, might be. Is that better or worse? I don't even know.
Fuck knows, mate. What I say to you guys now, I didn't believe the Usyk fight was going to happen. Was in April, because it was just too short notice, and I didn't believe. Although Fury does train most of the time, I don't think he was in camp or proper camp for a heavyweight title fight. So it would have made sense for that fight to kind of get pushed back for me, at least. So if it was going to Saudi, then I was kind of half hoping it was going to be the Usyk fight. But if you're freaking throwing other names at me, and that it could be Fury at the wind up like he likes to do. Well, there might be an element of truth to it. You just don't know what he's going to do, to be fair. So I don't know. I really don't know. But Andy Ruiz against fucking, I mean, can you imagine the size difference here? The fucking Fury's going to be punching down the whole night.
Ruiz might be heavier though.
That's the thing. Yeah, he could be. But it would be an awful fight. Probably wouldn't go 12 rounds today, because I think Fury would have issues with him trying to kind of like chin him, hold. He would be punching down the way. You have to try ragdoll him, really. Maybe tire him out, possibly.
Yeah, I think that uppercut he found on White, he could probably find on Ruiz.
Maybe,
too.
I suppose, but it'd be an awful fight to watch.
Would you rather see, Matty, Fury against Ruiz or Fury against Luis Ortiz?
Ruiz.
Would you rather see Fury against Otto Wallin 2?
Otto Wallin.
Would you rather see Fury against Frank Sanchez?
Sanchez. I feel like I'm at the eye doctor.
Oh, we're stretching this out like Devon Alexander's anus, aren't we?
Yeah, but then it's destroyed, mate. This conversation destroyed afterwards.
Right, that'll do. Yeah, so I don't know whether that was come from a fake Benson account, but somebody seemed to make a poster anyway. So good luck to them, I say. Good luck to them. Let's go on to Value of the Week for episode 520. Matty's still here, so's Andy. Rob will hopefully come back to join us. I tell you what, there's some right chatter going around this weekend. Ricky Graville sent me a video. I have checked it, by the way, so it should be free to play, although it might get us cancelled. Who knows? There might only be one winner for Value of the Week. But before we get on to that, someone has sent me the guard to play us in this weekend. He's talking to a UFC MMA guy. Matty, you maybe know more than this. Is it Chael Sonnen or something like that?
Oh, Chael Sonnen. He's a loudmouth fucking wackaloon.
No, Uncle Chill P, man. Don't disrespect that man.
Well, the guard was sliding in with some trademark questions. Do you shower beforehand? The guard was asking him this anyway. Let's have a listen.
Who'd have made a better porn star, you or Tito?
What? Tito, Chael P keeps his clothes on, and if you're not married, I don't want to hear about it. I'm a square. I'm from the other side of the tracks, Gareth. Born and raised Catholic. All right, don't ask me about porn.
You've never been asked if you'd have made a good porn star before, would you?
I wouldn't have made a good porn star. I don't want anything to do with porn. There's my answer.
The guard dragging him into the sewers with Elbrook.
Oh, fuck's sake. Uncle Chill P, though.
He's boring. He's boring. You're boring. Both of you would fucking turn down threesomes with foxy women. It's like, I don't even know why you were born men. It's useless that either of you has a penis. Like, it's fucking, you should donate them to science.
You talking to me or the guard?
Whoever wouldn't nail who wouldn't want to fucking have a threesome with two hot chicks? You're a waste of a penis.
David Hay, territory now, Matter.
David Hay is the hero, man. He's going to be. I don't know if he has a cult going or something right now, but it could be really successful.
Oh, David Hay's going to make an appearance here this week. I can feel it coming.
I'm sure you can, Andy.
Yeah, he's suffered a fresh blow after a bitter end to the Una Ely romance. The thruple-loving David Hayes.
I hope they never put Gad and Martin Bocconi together in an interview.
No, I thought you were saying Gad and Martin McCauley in a thruple.
The big man would smother him.
Martin McCauley won't be the meat in that one. Like,
oh my god! Starting to make
you might catch him with a wide shot.
He might well do. IFL TV, Eddie Hearn don't have nobody. He don't have no pay-per-view fighters. Leonard Ellaby, there he is with his beard, discusses the potential of working with Eddie Hearn. And Eddie just chimes in below and goes, state of him.
Eddie's got some fucking nerve to be talking state of him when Eddie's the one going about with the Botox and the fucking plug-haired wanker that he is. Plugs, Eddie, you're wearing plugs, mate. Then he start slagging people off about how they look. I fucking told this to Scam Jones as well by face to face. Well, no face to face, 1-on-1 basically. Who's this?
That's Moira Figueroa.
Why do we ask that every single week? It's like there's always someone that hasn't. It's just gone out of their brain for some reason. How do you forget?
Aussie's got the off-face habit for doing that, by the way. Something appears. He's like, "Who is that?" You say, "Aussie, I told you like literally 2 weeks ago."
Dude, all I know, guys, is if I ever hear that there is a serial killer in London who's taking out fat people, I am going to try to get the reward and I'm going to call in Oz. I'm sorry, but if there's a fat guy killer in London, I think I'm going to finger Oz.
I bet you will as well. On Bosch TV.
Oh God, we're going down the fucking.
He's got a van now. The big John Chinese sit down. I bet that dog will be sad that it was a sit down. Flip me. Look at him. He's struggling.
Fucking Bosch.
He's taking liberties with that picture, any artistic license.
Yeah, he's taking liberties with that one, isn't he?
Motherfucker's got a channel. He's got a van. He's going on a world tour. It's amazing.
He's literally riding that thing either physically or sexually. Fucking size.
He's quality in the old Bosch TV. Jazza Dickens has been tweeting out. He says, "Can't believe this worm has offered me a fight and now he's trying to fight an unranked fighter rather than fight the only British world champion. You're finished, you mate. I want a personal apology when I see you." Josh Warrington, thanks for trying to make it. Eddie Hearn and Tony Bellew. Jazza Dickens there, the IBO champion, no less. Andy, Britain's only world champion, he says. So,
one of the top 5, mate.
Yep, absolutely. Love the top 5. Love the IBO. Declan Graphene, shout out to him. He was getting stuck back in. Apparently, this I haven't cut the video itself, but this reappeared. The Colonel, do you remember when he was telling the story?
Oh, the bimbos
in the car. Declan retweeted it, and then the Colonel Bob gave him a like as well. So he's obviously liking the story there.
Oh, so he's doubling in on that one, is he?
Oh, yeah, tell you what, he's got some yarns. We saw him actually. We were doing a Punches from the Past this weekend. A young version of Bob on the mic before he was a natural born killer, Andy, in the streets of LA.
Aye, and about fucking 4 foot size, fucking smaller as well, man. The fucking size of the fact that if Ozzy was around my head, he'd be destroying them. Left the country without a name, the poor bastard.
Colonel Bob Sanders, fucking fat ass.
Oh, he is indeed. There's Oscar, rough and tough. I tell you what, he was jacked up, wasn't he? In that see-through shirt thing.
What is he doing, man?
And leather pants. Oh, leather trousers, man.
He's just getting closer and closer.
He's getting
something else, isn't he?
Rough and tough.
Right said Oscar coming to a town near you.
Oh, he's a state old Oscar. Anyway, Raf, we said last week we might be seeing more from this guy. And indeed, somebody tagged me in on this one. He was talking about the rehydration clause. He said that limit was interesting. Ultimately, 147 is the quote-unquote promised land, as that's the quote-unquote money division of the lower weight classes. 147 will inevitably be Ryan, Devon, Teofimo, and Javonta's final destination. That's when they'll make the most money too. Andrew says Tank will not fight at 147, and Raf says his power transcends far beyond 135. Against the right opponent, he will inevitably fight at 147. The matchmaking would be creative, though I agree, to accommodate the shorter dimensions. There are some unrivaled analysis from Elusive Raf there.
Will he piss off?
Oh, that's him for last week, eh?
Yeah.
So
fucking Lee Wiley Mark II wannabe.
Aye, old Wiley Coyote there. That's Raf. Like and subscribe. Here we are. Here he is. Bad Left Hook reporting Adrian Broner will fight a lawyer with a very limited boxing background in a June 9 Don King pay-per-view main event. Apparently, Andy, he didn't even turn up to the press conference.
That's what I was just going to say, because I was going to put Broner on it myself, actually, and Mr. What's his name? Hutchison.
Mm-hmm.
He turned up at the press conference, gave all the answers, or to answered all the questions. But AB, nowhere to be seen.
I tell you what, I hope
bastard.
Yeah, I hope he continues the spirit of Tank and Garcia, makes friends after the fight, because he could do it knowing a good lawyer, I think, Broner.
Well,
so good for him.
I wonder what number fucking Tank gave Garcia last night, because when I watched the build-up to this to that fight, Tank was kicking about with 2 mobile phones, so I don't know which one he fucking gave to Garcia. Maybe it was a burner phone, maybe.
Could have been the burner.
Oh my gosh. He's
definitely the can man, Mexican, tin can, anything can get it.
A shout out to Michael McAway. Anyone can get it. A tenner from old Mick there. He's throwing us a tenner. He says, dropping on for a minute while in work. The Frampton Punches from the Past was excellent from Steve and Dominic. Great memories of fights and the meetups. Hope to catch a few of the lads at Conlon and Lopez. Yeah, Michael McAway there. Andy exerting himself. Shout out to Mick, friend of the pod.
Yeah, good manners, wee Mick. Talking about him during the week there, so we're getting a wee bit of complex with me saying that there, but it wasn't nothing negative there, Mick. Don't worry about it, mate.
He knows it. He knows.
Or does he know what it was?
No, good lad is Mick.
I used to wind him up actually about his missus.
Oh,
aye, just because he's punching there, like he's definitely. I
think he knows.
He knows that. I told him if he threw a right uppercut, landed on Jesus, man.
You married up too, Andy. But to be fair, if you married Rosie O'Donnell, you would have been marrying up. There's a lot of room for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Money McAway leading the way. Shout out to Mick, punching up. Matty's still punching.
Marrying up, marry down. It should be the way forward. You're getting fucking less problems. I think that's the fucking way forward. Marrying up is fucking has its limitations. Fuck that shit.
Shout out to the Savage for his tattoo. He got his face tattooed on his belly there, on his chest. Oh my gosh, I don't know what he's thinking.
What a cabbage.
Cabbage. He comes to fight.
He's just a retarded guy.
Imagine what
That was
Hergovich would have done to him.
Fucking bum fight, wasn't it? That was some fucking bum
What did you
fight
think,
that
Rob?
last night. Fucking hell,
The wee
man.
fat guy knocking him out.
with the fucking what did he had sponsor on his back and his front, steroid or something. His head. I was like,
You want to see that guy? You want to see that guy Sislak, man? He was like a fucking Norwegian football team with the amount of sponsors he had on his fucking jersey, man, on his body. Fucking Jesus.
So I don't know.
You need more sponsors than Alcoholics Anonymous.
It might be time to fucking. I don't know. It was a strange card, wasn't it? Like it was like Babic and your man smashed through the beats, and like Matthew Macklin somehow was still on the fucking commentary without giving a flying fuck about any fucking sanctions or whatever. He's fucking sitting pretty. Adam Smith hasn't lasted the pace. Macklin's still fucking there commentating on that, and I think it might be a fair assumption now to maybe wheel back some of our fucking high hopes that we have for Ben Shalom, because I don't think this fella has a fucking clue what he's doing. Jesus Christ.
He's lost Bean. That's why, Rob. Bean's gone and left him.
Bean's gone and fucking Babic is Cabbage, and he's looking to make Bacoli versus Wilder. Good luck with that, man. Fucking hell.
Oh dear. Yeah. Shout out to the sponsorships. Took me back in the time, Andy, to Sven Otka with the condomy on the back, or Bernard Hopkins when he beat Trinidad. Do you remember he had like Caesar's Palace or some palace on the back?
Apparently Hopkins actually took that money for that sponsorship and backed him at the bookies to beat Trinidad, I think it was. Aye.
Backed himself.
And you got Julius Francis with the famous...
was it the sun or the mirror?
The sun on the boat with his shoes. Aye. Fucking grim.
It is indeed grim. Talking of grim, Anthony Fowler has got a Supreme CBD poster up, trusted by the best, loved by all, supremecbd.uk. And then he spelt his name wrong at the bottom.
That slogan. Fucking marketer of the year.
He spelled his name wrong. Look, he's dropped the H.
And Tony.
Trusted by the best, loved by all. What does that even mean?
Oh dear, Criton Doe nominating that one, and I think it was Paul Rafter. He jumped in and he said that sign reminds him of an all-time classic. Does anybody remember the promoter Frank Maloney? Don't know what happened to him, but back in the day, he ran for UKIP and misspelled Britain on his posters as Britian. Oh dear. R.I.P.
God, he got his wish. I mean, he left the EU. He lost his PP. Like all the.
Kids ask, why the fuck's that been dragged up 13 years later?
Because of the Fowler one and the misspelling. You see, that's what.
Right. Somebody's fucking picked right. Okay.
Someone said it reminded him of that one.
All right.
He doesn't need to replace that pram. Oh gosh, shout out to Kelly. She's doing bits in boxing. There's Big John. Get the fair play exchange.
Look at that, he's almost taking up entire fucking focus on the screen there, man. The size of that.
I'm starting to admire him now, man. I'm
starting
to admire him. Rob's on the train now. Ozzy's on the train. Big John, man, he's making money.
There's not enough room for us all on that fucking
train. This train is headed to fucking doom.
Steve, have you noticed that Ozzy doesn't talk about Big John anymore? It's always Rob.
Yeah.
You noticed that? Ozzy's got completely converted, like.
Ozzy's done it on purpose, though, hasn't he? He's like whistling a tune in someone's ear, and now Rob can't get it out of his head.
Fucking Rob sending me 2-minute voice notes talking about Big John, fucking bash, lads.
This is why I'm not on Twitter. This is why I'm not on Twitter. This would be part of my life.
Rob slides in with a voicemail. Did you see what Big John Fisher put there? Fuck's sake.
It's no 2-3.
He was down at a marathon today watching people running.
It's no 2-3 fucking notes a day to It's 2 or 3 notes a fucking minute. Fucking bash.
Anyway, we've got to the bottom of the diet. People were cracking up over the diet, weren't they? And the £15 a month, and he said he's decided to take a back step from the diet because he's got too much other stuff on. So he's still planning on doing it. So fucking, he must be still in a lot of credit anyway. So not to worry.
He's got too much other stuff on.
Yeah, he's got like, he didn't think it was right to be sticking to the diet when he got to other work commitments. He said something like that. Something. Get off me back, if this is trolls and haters. Just let me fucking have my other work commitments where I need to eat.
These are calories, mate. He's got a lot of work to do.
What the fuck is wrong with us?
Used to
Oh,
fuel
they've got
that
to get him
engine.
on the zone. He's got to be on one of those misfits cards, hasn't he? Who would he fight?
Cholesterol.
Sugar diabetes.
Oh dear.
The ring walk.
No, exactly. Be out of breath.
The fucking ring stairs. If I Ken something, how would he get in the ring? He would eat under the bottom rope.
I want him to try to flip over the ring like Monty Parrott against David Hay.
Him against Danny Williams, man. I'd pay to see that. That'd be good.
I'll tell you what, like, for a fella who has the neck to take off his t-shirt and post it on Instagram and walk around, he's not half sensitive, is he? That's not the way he's going to sue.
Going to sue you.
Hey, speak up.
Okay. You gotta love that he just. Jesus Christ. You gotta love that he gives zero fucks at least. He at least embraces who he is. And he
Well,
just
he gives a
goes
fuck,
with it.
mate. Don't you worry about that. He cares. He wouldn't be threatening the lawyers if he didn't care.
Oh, we've got to put him in against Father Dave. That would be a good fight,
No.
wouldn't it?
Fucking bash, mate.
The Father Dave deserves more than to be part of a sideshow.
No, because if he drops down of a heart attack, Father Dave can heal him like he did with his own brain tumor that time. So
The power of Christ compels
If it's
you.
going to be against some obese person, so we could have a sumo wrestling match rather than a boxing match.
Oh, Broner's dad. Broner's dad.
Aye.
That'd be a good one.
Broner's
Aye.
trainer.
Oh, what about Bud Crawford's trainer?
Aye, yeah, Bomac. He'd have too much for John, wouldn't he? Too
Big,
many hands.
she just changed it to Big Mac at this point in time.
There we are. Good stuff.
Too experienced.
Ebbs
God,
is
we're
back,
mean.
everybody.
Oh, did you see her last night, by the way? Fucking Chebs galore, man.
Where
Fuck
was
me.
she? In the Wales one.
I'm
didn't see her.
trying.
Must
remember.
be the zone, was it?
she was presenting the card that had El Brook on it. El Brook got the points decision. She didn't get the finish, but if you search the name on Twitter, there's a lot of emphatic finishes ours there. So, but yeah, Abe's was fucking fuck her up, mate. Fuck her up, mate. Get stuck in a can. She was saying all kinds of instructions like that to her. Fucking big bird.
Chebs out.
Aye, Ebbs. Get the Chebs. Chebony Bridges.
Chebony. Chebony.
She's on the Bet Goodwin advert now, so she's been riding around on a horse anyway. And talking of horses, Michael Buffer was kicking off apparently. 3 beautiful innocent horses murdered. I think he was kicking off at the Grand National, and then someone put up, "Is this you?" And then him on the Betware advert on the racetrack.
He's deleted.
Isn't that Grand National like one of like the deadliest horse races in the world, and like horses and people die in it? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
I've never seen anybody die in the Grand National for fucking ages, mate.
The horses get put down sometimes, don't they? I think. I don't know.
God, I swear there's a horse race where people are getting
Horses
fucked
are
up.
all
Maybe I'm
doped up
wrong.
as well, man. Fuck's sake.
Aye.
Yeah.
Conor Ben horses.
Why not?
Gorilla come.
Aye. Everyone else is.
They're lacing their hay with eggs.
I was surprised to see Floyd in the ring.
Yeah, I know.
last
Well,
year,
we always
actually.
we kind of thought, didn't we, because of the Ellaby still hanging around. But here, Floyd's planning to launch his own championship belt. Apparently, that trumps all titles. But I was surprised as well that he would come in so overtly. I was hoping, Andy, that Davis had dropped him. I thought that he'd be better off without Floyd, to be honest.
What is he gonna do for the titles? Is he gonna melt down the chains around his fucking neck? Jesus Christ! How many educations for poor kids does he have around his fucking neck? My God!
That elusive Mikey Bay fight finally has a home.
Be for the Mayweather Championship. That's what we've all been waiting for.
Oh my gosh. It's just getting worse, isn't it? Curtis Woodhouse, Bacoli smashes Usyk. I'll have one of my houses on it. Too big, too strong, too good. Stops him inside 8 rounds. Save the tweet. I'm sure somebody will. Don't worry about that. What else have we got here? The scorecard, we mentioned this earlier. Moretti and his stupid scorecard. And Javonta Davis' trainer Calvin Ford on Instagram today after Davis' altercation with Bernard Hopkins at the Ryan Garcia weigh-in. Someone message to him, "Coach, beware of B-hop and testosterone cream. I will make you test dirty. Be careful." Well, that sounds a bit like a Joseph Ajao message, doesn't it? That.
I told you.
Calvin
This.
Ford not very careful with his assumption there either. He's like, yes, this is why Bernard was trying to touch him. He's trying to get him to pop dirty for steroids.
I mentioned this a few weeks ago, actually, about this situation getting reported by testing companies or authorities not letting athletes know touching certain medicines could make you test positive and all that shit. I'm like, fuck it. This is how sensitive we're getting in terms of testing policies and that now. That you can actually accidentally touch something that's maybe like laced and it's in your system somehow. And they can somehow pop you for it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has touched me with something.
Testosterone, maybe.
Jesus.
Right. We need to take things up a level. we need to take things up a level now.
Rub and wrap Kelly.
We've saved the best for last. Ricky Graville sent this in to me earlier.
Come on,
Dillian White being
whoa.
on Polish TV.
Let's go.
Off. Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Let's sign off that Blaze of Glory.
Let's sign in the Blaze of Glory, episode 521. Hopefully we'll be back next week. Here we are.
Shut up, you nuns, you fucking pedophile. This guy's a pedophile. He have sex with young kids. Pedophile.
Jesus fucking God.
No, hopefully that's there for years to come.
That's fucking Dillian White ahead in the trilogy with Derek Chisora anyway, isn't it? He's just fucking up to the level there, hasn't he?
You wee woman's like, she ain't got a clue.
Yes, it's fucking hell.
Anything goes on Polish TV. Flip me, that is brutal.
Brutal mente. And White, he was doing an interview with IFL afterward or whatever, and the way he's trying to talk into a big fight, he was like, Bacoli doesn't bring nothing to the table and Joyce doesn't bring anything to the table now because he's lost, and they should make this proposed 4-man tournament in Saudi Arabia an 8-man tournament and put it. And the interviewer was like, yeah, it would be good if it was you and some of the other fringe guys, and he was like, I'm not a fringe guy. It was like, all right, man, fucking hell, man. But that's an absolute blinder, that isn't it? Like, that is.
He is.
I don't even know what to say when I saw that. It was just like, holy fuck.
No filter. F2 said, Andy mentioned this earlier as well. Eagles Klima Spell of the Week with the Matchroom testing. Yeah, we'll throw that one in as well. That's all the ones I've got. Andy, anything from you this week that we haven't already picked up on?
Tony Bellew tweeting out about the fight last night. Tank Davis is the biggest puncher in the lighter weight divisions I've seen since Nazim Hamlin, in my honest opinion. So
Piper.
He didn't do the. I've got a habit of doing it as well. He didn't do the old proof spelling before he sent it. He's obviously wanted to see the Shakur fight in that as well. One for AB, you already mentioned that one. I'm glad Rob's back on. Actually, I don't know if he caught up with David Hay latest with the thruple, but also he's been forced to close in 2 companies because they racked up debts of 500,000.
He's in debt,
and apparently one of the ladies has apparently stepped away from this relationship. So I won for the old haymaker.
You pay for it in the end. This is it.
Yeah, only a double now.
This is, but it was a good run though. He was a god for about 2-3 months, but a reminder, ladies.
The fucking transfer window's coming up again in May. He'd be fine. He's
a reminder though, fucking the hell of the high life when you can't afford it. What about the zone? Biggest losers last night, supposedly outside the Garcia. Apparently, people were buying the fight, as Steve mentioned. They've just been following Twitter. They're finding some comments, and apparently it seems to be true. Virgil Ortiz also tweeting about it as well, that they bought the pay-per-view on DAZN last night and they couldn't fucking watch it, so they go on to Showtime and pay for it there.
On an app that doesn't show the fights.
I think Showtime wouldn't even want them on the actual pay-per-view with them, so it proves the point.
They finally get like a fight that's a share of a fight that's pay-per-view worthy, and then end up having to give all the fucking pay-per-view money back because they're on some run out there.
Some business plan, eh?
Joe Markovsky will be on Monday trying to explain it with his hair all over the place, looking like he hasn't slept for about 3 months.
He's fucking in his jaw wagging like he's going fucking 6 ton of eggies.
Imagine that's just one fella's fault or something. He's just forgotten to turn on a button. He's a Joe. What did you do?
What you do? I'm snorting lines with my mate in the toilet, mate. I got some brassing for $50, you know.
I DAZN, there's literally no fights for you.
she gave me one off the wrist and I sent her back in her Honda 50. so I've got. Jeez, I must have thought it was true. Fucking brilliant. One for Ryan. I feel sorry for those that paid for it. Stick the team stream next time. Ryan Garcia as well apparently request a potential rematch in the future. Fucking guy left no argument for a rematch here last night, man. So we can bin that as well. Bellew on the fucking commentary last night. I think if Cordina was a Scouser, I think they probably had that shutout. According to one of the listeners.
Yes, I picked up on that as well. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting how close he had that? Oh, you know, Tony tells it how it is. Isn't it? It's not. You could tell it wasn't one of his mates. Sorry, Andy, but I got.
No, I know what you mean, mate. I know. I know. Obviously, Bellew at that man at that point. And one obviously, I don't know between Sonny was okay on commentary there last night. But the oon and an between him and Barker, they were trying to outdo each other actually. When
he's bad as Tim Bradley, isn't he?
Oh, fuck, I was like, it was awful. Listen, the fight did not need it. It was a great fight. It didn't need the oon and an and the fucking, the high five.
Costello has no control, has he? He just, Sonny Edwards kept talking over him all the time. Costello's like one of those the weak parents that can't control their kids.
Let's go, bro. High five and Mike Costello just like does his wee spiel, started around like 20 seconds, and Sonny takes over, and then when a decent shot lands, Barker's go, wow, fucking let me pull my plonker out here. So one for Barker as well, man. He was just hideous here last night. One of the worst commentary I'd heard. And as I say, the fight did not need it.
Mark Stanton says Joe Markowski doesn't work for DAZN. He just sleeps in their doorway.
He's going to turn up. The ones are going to be locked. That's for fucking sure.
He'll be squatting in the building when after they close down.
Clean your toilets if you give me a cot.
Oh, sorry, Andy. Any more?
No, that's enough. I just laugh.
Oh, Matty, any from you, please?
Nah, it was a pretty busy week. I don't think I've got anything that hasn't already been said.
Good stuff. Any from you, Rob, please?
There's no real point, is there? Like, there's one clear unanimous fucking winner this week. Like,
I think so. Let's go through them anyway, just for time's sake. We got Eddie going in on older Santa Claus.
Oh, sorry,
there.
I've got one for Ellerby as well.
Well,
He went. I don't know if anybody caught the press conference Thursday night. Basically just laying into Oscar. I said, you were asleep at the motherfucking wheel. We took all your fighters, all this stuff, and now you're sleeping at the wheel, motherfucker, all this pish. Basically left Oscar without a name, a heritage, a country, just basically fucking set him on fire, man. They left him in the fucking heap of the ashes. It was
because Oscar had done his little, like, Oscar had a piece of paper. He's like, I think this rehydration clause, he is a scared fighter, and Ellerby was just like, wait, like, get up there, you fool.
Here, what's this one, Rob? I didn't hear this. Jim McDonald Boxing says, what about that pundit on Showtime talking about chemtrails? What the fuck?
Okay, I must have missed that. Maybe I just thought they were talking to me. His voice is in my head.
Was that the DraftKings guy, maybe? Was it something Shaw? I'd never seen him before. He kept talking about odds. Did you see him, Andy?
Mm-mm.
Like an Asian fellow. He kept talking about the odds and the DraftKings odds and stuff.
No, what fight did you watch? Or what version did you watch?
Showtime, yeah, Showtime.
One
that was the same.
Was it Anthony Crowler, by any chance?
Maybe Richard D. Hall got a Showtime gig.
He's looking $1 million, isn't he?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, anyway, Ellerby getting a double nomination. Bosch TV as well. The Chinese sit down on the dog.
That has to be an XL fucking bully, that one, eh? That's not just a normal pit bull, man. The poor thing when they able to carry Big John.
Oh, I love Big John.
Well, what's the significance of the dog? Is he going to? Is that like?
He's going to eat it.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I don't know.
He's just him and his dog on crazy adventures, solving mysteries in the fucking van. What's going on?
I think the dog's name might be Bosch.
Oh dear. Jazzy Dickens getting a nomination as well. Declan Graffin digging up the Colonel. Oscar getting a nomination for his activities. Raf, Elusive 2.0 with his analysis. Adrian Broner and his next fight. The Savage gets a nomination. So does Fowler, rather, for spelling his name wrong. A bit of Frank Maloney getting dragged up. There's Big John again. Ebbs on the horse. Riding free. Michael Buffer getting a nomination too. Floyd launching his own belts. Curtis Woodhead's on the troll. Coach Calvin. The scorecards. And the zone. And also the GAD. And Dillian White out in Poland. And Andy, who are you going for? Big McConey seems like a harmless big fella. Well, I mean, relatively harmless. I just feel sorry.
Stop laughing, man. That turns out to be true. We'll get fucking shot.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm kind of thinking between Big John, Bellew, and sort of still Dillian White. I'm going to go with Dillian White.
It's got to be Dillian White, man.
It was that was like a no fucks tour given that one anyway. Just like I'll just drop it here. I don't care what happens here.
I love how he doubled down on it in his IFL as well and said it again and again and again.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
I don't want to fight that guy, man. He's you went in Dillian White, man. Fuck me.
Dillian White for you as well, then, Rob. Yeah.
Oh, I had one nomination, but it's not touching. It's not touching or coming close to fucking win.
Kids.
But Cambosis was asked about who the fucking who's going to win in Tank versus Garcia, and he was like, "Very intriguing fight for me. Of course, is one of the biggest names in the lightweight division." And I was thinking, well, it's one of the longest names in the lightweight division. I don't think you're fucking in the mix anymore, pal. You've had your fucking day, like. But yeah, no, it's got to be Dillian White, isn't
it? Matty.
I think you guys are wrong on this one. That DAZN fuck up. I mean, you're talking like over a $10 million fuck up.
Amazing.
I know, but Dillian White on Polish TV is funny, isn't it?
That's funny as shit, but I mean, my God.
But Matty, it's like the time that was reminiscent to the time when Fury called out David Price and Bellew that night in the Channel 5 card. He says he's going to punch he's going to need like 10 plumbers to deal with the holes. He's going to be punching them. You see that big, what you call it, your big liver, Tony Bellew, you can get some and all.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It was something along those lines, but Dillian White just like kind of went for like 0 to 100. Just like, fucking, he's a fucking nonce. He's a paedophile, has sex with kids and all that stuff. Well, fuck me. Look at me right out of sight.
Yeah, I'm going with the DAZN economic fuck up. Yeah, because it's one way or the other. It's wrong to wrongly identify somebody as a pedophile, or it's wrong to be a pedophile. So I'm not going to touch that, and I'm going to go with DAZN.
Okay, as long as you don't keep saying it for the algorithms, we should be all right, I'd say. Congratulations, Dillian White. You are the Value of the Week winner for episode 520. And that is where we shall leave it for this evening. Shout out to Michael McAway for the solo super chat. Shout out to who were the patrons again? We had Jake, we had Jay, we had Jerej. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, sir. And Sonny D as well for buying us a coffee. Thanks to everybody who's come on tonight. We've had a laugh as always. Andy Patterson's been here. Matty DJ Leonardo and Rob Kelly. Matty will be in the red hot seat for next weekend's action. Hopefully Ozzy will be with us again soon. Robin Steve Wellings. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the way out. That's enough stalling. We found the outro clip and bye.
We'll never forget.
Golly, that's good on me.
Go to Adam!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking Sri that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumple fucking Stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't it? 7-year ain't it? I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds, simple as that.